Greetings! Welcome to SkepTalk. I'm your host, Forrest, Valkai, and I'm joined today by the illustrious and charming Dr. Adair. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing hunky. I'm doing dory. I could be both. I can be so much more, but hunky-dory is a great way to start.
Fantastic. For those of you who are in the audience tuning in for the very first time, this is a call-in show where two scientists take your questions, preferably about science, but also about religion. If you are a skeptic of what the mainstream scientific media elite something corporate Illuminati science university stuff are, this is your chance. Call in and talk to people who study that crap for a living and ask us your questions, your concerns, present us with your challenges. If you don't believe in evolution, if you don't believe in the Big Bang, if you don't believe in climate change, if you don't believe in vaccines, if you don't believe in the age of the Earth or radiometric dating or whatever other thing that takes us away from the Word of God, this is your chance. Call in and vocalize your grumps, you know? Air out your indignities and let us know what the problem is. Also, if you believe in the Bible, or that the Bible is the good book, or that Aaron and I need Jesus, or some other god or gods, if you want to call in and tell us what you believe and why we should believe it too, this is also the show for you. In any case, the number on the bottom of the screen there is 720-619-2288, and you can use that number to get straight into our ear holes. Or if you're outside of the U.S., you can use the web link in the description, so you can call in that way too, because we don't want to leave you all out. So pick up that phone and give us a call. If you are a creationist, a flat earther, a young universarian, I don't know, a transphobe, a homophobe, a sexist in general, if you are a race realist, if you believe that the Earth is actually 6 to 10,000 years old, if you believe in a global flood, if you believe we've never been to space or the moon, if you believe there's a dome that encompasses the entire flat Earth that we live on, if you believe that sex and gender are synonymous and binary, if you think that the Big Bang can't have happened because something can't come from nothing, or if you think that we must repent of our evil ways and stop being like 80% as goofy as we are in order to get into heaven, then this is the show for you. Again, that number is 720-619-2288, or use the web link in the description, and we are waiting to talk to you. We already have calls pouring in right now, but while we wait, Aaron, what kind of calls are you hoping to get today? What are you excited about?
Well, on a day like this, I'm feeling loony for the best of reasons. I hope everyone has been paying attention to where science and engineering succeeds in amazing ways. Today, humans have gotten the farthest away they ever have from the Earth. The previous record was set by the Apollo 13 mission, where, of course, originally they wanted to land on the moon, not go far away from the Earth, but because of a major malfunction that somebody made a movie about, that was not the plan that could go to fruition. And just now, in the last couple of hours, humans have passed that limit, and now we have 4 astronauts on the far side from the moon. Right now, we can't even make radio contact with them because the moon is literally in the way. And I think they're still going to be in radio darkness for like another 20 minutes. And those people are going to be the farthest away humans have ever been from the Earth. And not next mission, but right now, the plan is Artemis 4 is going to put boots on the ground. So if things go according to plan, by the end of this decade, we will have some new flags on the moon.
That is so incredibly cool, and I am so incredibly proud of our species and so incredibly excited about all of this, and I hope that everybody else is too. I just noticed you put in the chat, Team Rocket is blasting off again. That's great. It's an amazing day, and it's a wonderful achievement, and I'm so proud of all the scientists out there that are making this happen, all the engineers that are working so hard and putting in their entire lives to just getting humanity a little bit farther. And on the exact opposite side of that, I love to talk about this. Let me see if I can get this framed properly here. So this is this going to look right if I do this? Okay, I can make this smaller. So this is something that I just learned about. It's called the Wellness Company. You can see the chat there. And let me kind of get this smaller so it fits properly.
No hidden
Oh my
fees.
God.
Why do I get the feeling that's also a lie?
Yeah. So this is a thing called the Wellness Company. It's a super cool and real thing. Where you can get supplements and medical kits and wellness care. So immediately just looking at this, it's a nameless, it's a faceless, soulless website called Wellness, which sells supplements and stuff. Immediately, this should be setting off every kind of red flag. But then you go up in here, right? And you look at what are their best sellers, right? They have the ultimate spike detox, where you can detox your body of the spike proteins that expose what spike protein does to your body. Which, by the way, just so we're clear, there is no one single thing called a spike spike protein is a thing. It's a type of protein. But this is talking about the COVID vaccine, right? It's not like that is the only spike protein in the world. It's just, oh my God. Anyway, so what's in this, right? What is this incredible 3-in-1 extra strength, amazing detox thing? Well, it's got dandelion root and turmeric and black seed. So a bunch of dick. It's a bottle. It's how much is it? It's an $80 bottle of absolute dick to help people who are afraid of vaccines feel slightly safer. And what else have they got? Oh, they've got, of course, the emergency medical kit. Now, this is the medical kit you can carry with you around. What would you want to have in this medical kit that's for emergencies, right? Well, of course, it's fucking antibiotics. Amoxicillin, azithromycin, doxycycline, and how can we forget ivermectin as well? So a bunch of shit that you really, really should not be taking on a whim. A bunch of shit that you need a prescription for, that you need to have a swab done and a culture done to make sure you are taking it appropriately and effectively. Otherwise, you are putting yourself and others in risk, in harm's way. This is it is a, how much is this one? Get out of here. God damn. It's $300. Or you can get a subscription. You can get a subscription to fucking pharmacy free antibiotics. And so
wait. A subscription to emergency stuff? Like people have scheduled emergencies?
Yes. You can get a fucking subscription to emergency care with antibiotics that you should not be taking without medical oversight. So this is just, it's a $300 box of malpractice. And now here's the question, right? The big question. You see this shit and you're like, who in their fucking mind would ever do this? Who would ever allow something like this to come out? Who would be on the team for this absolute fucking shit show of medical embarrassment? Well, it's no other than fucking Dr. Peter McCullough, the chief scientific officer of this fucking company. The man who lost his license for going on every right-wing grifter podcast he could to tell everybody to not trust vaccines, especially the COVID vaccine. And then there's whoever the fuck this is, and whoever fuck this is, and whoever the 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 fuck this is. Fuck all of these people, but especially fuck this guy. That's what's going on in this fucking asshole's world, is they are selling antibiotics and spike protein detox and ivermectin and shit and all sorts of other things that either do nothing or should not be taken without a doctor's oversight, without a prescription, without a clear plan of care, should not be given out in this way. And any doctor with half a fucking brain will tell you, I'm not a doctor, right? I did biomed, and I can tell you, just don't. If you're wondering if you should patronize this business, right? The easy acronym is DON'T. The D stands for don't. And all the other letters, you get those for free. Those are just there for fun. What an absolute shit show. And I hope everybody sends this to Dr. Ben and, and asks him if you should buy some antibiotics from Dr. Peter McCullough and friends. That's what you should do to Dr. Ben. I just saw that and I could not let it go today. It's driving me up a fucking wall, dude.
What drives me nuts, especially about that emergency kit. Could you imagine having that at home and someone cuts themselves and they open that? And what's the most basic thing an emergency kit should have? Bandages.
Band-aids.
Yeah. And so it's like, hey, what's the number one thing I'm probably going to need to open this box for? Oh, I cut myself. Will the ivermectin cover the wound? What the hell?
Rub the azithromycin on it. It'll be fine. Oh my glob. That is so unbelievably dangerous and so unbelievably stupid. So fuck that dude and fuck everybody associated with that dude. Please trust real doctors that actually care about your health and not about perpetuating book sales and selling you prescription medication over the internet with no questions asked for $300. That's, oh my glob. Anyway, lines are open. We have 3 people on them, but the lines are still there.
I should also note that obviously you're going to, audience, you're going to stick around and listen to this, but afterwards, if you need about 2-ish hours of knowing why Peter McCullough should not be listened to, Professor Dave of Professor Dave Explains has a useful expose. So if you need that, you can also, go for a couple hours and say, what the hell? Fuck this guy. What the hell? Fuck this guy.
I'm looking that up right now.
I think he put it out a month or 2 ago.
It's almost exactly 2 hours. Wow. And it's all about predatory journals and stuff as well. Hell yes. Well, I'll be watching that later on. Still haven't done a show with Dave, but he's on this channel a few times. I don't know. I don't have anything against the guy, but now I'm hurt because he hasn't. I've actually don't. It's fine. We've got 3 callers on the line right now. 2 of them are atheists. One of them has listed themselves as an occultist. That's interesting. So we'll talk to that person first, and we'll jump into the atheist. But in the meantime, if anybody out there is a believer in the supernatural or a disbeliever in science, once again, this show is for you. 720-619-2288. Or use the web link in the description, and we would love to talk to you. With that, let's talk to Aruna, who is our occultist caller who wants to talk about something. Aruna, you are on the line with Forrest and Aaron. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's very nice to talk to you.
Pleasure to speak to you as well. So what did you want to talk about today?
Well, on my thing, I've listed myself as an occultist. Mainly, I follow Western esotericism, or so it's been described from my research. I was just, I was just wondering to see, I believe in science. I agree with a lot of your points on, about evolution and creationism. I was watching your Reacterias about Donald James Parker and A Matter of Faith again recently. And I was wondering if I was kind of stupid for pursuing knowledge outside of science.
I don't think you're stupid for looking for knowledge outside of science. So I used to also, the word esotericism or whatever the hell resonated with me right away because I've heard that one a lot. Because I used to be into all sorts of mysticism and whatnot when I was younger. I would just say that, like, if you found knowledge of the universe outside of what is currently known to science, then the way to verify that knowledge was true and learn about it would be science. And then it would just be science. So it's like when we talk about supernatural things, right? It's like, we're not saying the supernatural doesn't exist. We're saying that if the supernatural does exist, it exists in this universe, and therefore it is natural. And it's kind of the same thing here. I used to believe the same way that a lot of, mysticists and pagans and occultists and Wiccans and all these folks say is like, oh, magic and all this stuff is just science that we don't understand yet. Okay. You know how we learn about it? Science. You know how we perfect it?
Yeah.
Science. You know what it means? It means it's just a natural thing that we just don't know. And I'm not saying there isn't anything we don't know. There's obviously lots we don't know. But, like, at the end of the day, the way we learn about that stuff is just scientific thinking. So if you're looking outside of the scientific fields for stuff, I urge you to be cautious with your brain and not to fall for woo-woo thinking. And if you find something really interesting, put it to the test and come up with a real good reason to believe in it before you believe in it.
But believe me, I've kind of cautioned myself against New Age spiritualism because of the alt-right comparisons that can be drawn from the more holistic medicine that they espouse.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I do believe in like sound medicine and like sound science, like in your videos and stuff. It's just, you know, it's just, I don't know. I guess it was I kind of got in my head about the way he kind of talked about like, I think it was deism or something like that. I can't remember. I guess I got in my head about it, and I, you know, wanted to consult someone who I consider an expert.
Oh, I'm not, but like deism is fine.
Like, I just wanted to consult someone who was probably smarter than me.
I'm not that either, but like the whole thing is just like deism is fine. It's just the same problem. You were making a magical claim. It's less egregious than theism, I suppose, but like you're still making a magical claim, and I think you need to justify that. But whatever floats your scrote, dude. Like if you're happy, be happy. Just I think you should have a good reason to believe in whatever you're believing in. Is all. I don't know, Aaron. Am I missing anything major here?
Oh, you're missing the most important thing. Considering Aruna is, according to the description, into Kemetism, which is basically about Egypt. It's not what floats her boat. It's going to what floats her bark as the sun floats across the sky and the bark from east to west. I'm having some fun here.
Well, yeah, you know, this was also coming to a head because I was reading up on, you know, religious things from it, and it has like a creation myth that's similar to Christianity. So I was kind of like, well, obviously I don't kind of agree with that. Because, you know, it's like the Christian form of creation, which is not kind of fed into a thing. Sorry, I'm like
there's
nervous.
A lot. You have nothing to be nervous about. I'm incredibly silly, and Aaron's very nice. The thing is, like, there is a lot of overlap and a lot of bleed over in with, like, you know, Christianity, especially like very, very Western, like American kind of Christianity that bleeds over into like mysticism and occultism and whatever here in the States. I had an embarrassing moment on this very channel where I was talking about how I grew up pagan, and I recited these weird, like, incantation, like this kind of meditation phrase that I was taught as a kid as a way to, like, cast spells and, like, bring about, like, focus your energies and things like that. And it turned out to be, some people noticed, it was really bad Hebrew, and it was the Lord's Prayer. And so, really? Like, it was, yeah, and that's what I was taught to me, as, you know, in a tradition of you know, going against that kind of thinking, because it was in the same kind of magic books that I was reading with everything else. And so it's just like there's a ton of that in there where you don't realize that these things are kind of blended together, and there's no like real grounding for it a lot of the times. It's just kind of like mixed in 50 different people's bullshit. And just like any religion, it's highly personalized and highly individualized, and you draw your own meanings and build your own connections and whatever and whatever and whatever. And so I've got like my grandma's old magical herbs textbooks and shit that I was using to do herbology. And then meanwhile, I'm picking up whatever, you know, Buckland's Guide to Witchcraft and trying to fill in the blanks for myself and stuff like that. And you end up with some weird quasi-Christian East European, I burned frankincense and myrrh, but also sage, which I stole from the Native Americans, but also did some stuff with like some, you know, Chinese symbols and whatever. I made a talisman out of something that's kind of vaguely Nordic, and like it's all just whatever, yo. So do what feels right for you. Just make sure that you're applying a scientific mindset to it, and that you're not just vibing with whatever the newest religious cultural appropriation thing is. My childhood upbringing was like, you know, when you go to like a bead store or like a psychic fair or one of those like witch shops down on Main Street, and it's just the entire store is cultural appropriation, and they've got like a statue of Kali next to like some African beads, next to like some Native American, like it's a bunch of feathers and shit, and whatever else is just totally inappropriate for these. That was that, and so like just don't do that is what I'm saying to you. If you want to explore this and have a scientific, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm trying to approach it from more of like a more appropriate way because the last thing I want to do is appropriate another culture. Like I have readings because I was interested in condensates. I have the Gita, which is Hinduism, because I've been looking into that as well. I also have the sacred and the profane as like kind of an even out because it's more of like a look into how humans experience the world through religion. So I'm trying to like round it out as much as I can to kind of like not make myself, pull a new age and just take a bunch of stuff from a different culture.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, like that, if it makes you happy to dig through those things and like find some cool stuff, some new perspectives on the world, I encourage that. I have that all the time. Like my exposure to other cultures and other religions and other ways of lives and other types of thinking and like the very meaningful to me and has really benefited even my atheism because it allows me to kind of see and compare and contrast and whatnot. So like, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of those things. And I don't think there's anything wrong even with finding some meaning in the philosophy of those things. I also read the Bhagavad Gita when I was a kid. And I also had, all the random, witchcraft books and various religions from all over the world. And I was reading fucking the Greater Key of Solomon to learn how to draw pentagrams and not thinking about how much Hebrew is written in there. And it was just like, whatever, So like, if these things make you smile and they're teaching you some cool stuff and they're making you feel like more connected with the world around you, awesome. Have fun. Do whatever. I just want to make sure that I'm always stressing, don't buy into the magic though. Like if this magical shit is real, there's a scientific way to dig into it. And you don't need to believe in it without good evidence just because you develop an emotional attachment to it. Or you get in that sunk cost fallacy of talking, well, I've been studying this for so long and I've bought all these books about it. Or because you get into the how do you say, the whole, well, so many people believe in it and so it must be, or there's only so many things that science can explain, so there might be something else. So like any of these other fallacies that we see people fall into all the time, just don't do that shit. But if you want to explore other cultures and other religions and whatever and build your own kind of cool way of perspective or whatever, have fun. I'm never going to be mad about that for people. Just don't believe bullshit. That's all I'm saying.
Believe me, and this actually started because I was kind of deconstructing from evangelical Christianity after, coming to terms with my LGBTQ identity and, which didn't mesh well with evangelical Christianity in some senses, mainly along the lines of the doctrine. But, yeah. I just, wanted, I guess a second opinion. I don't really know.
I don't know, man. Aaron, you have anything else to add?
Just that you brought up having LGBT identity. Just to bring this back to Egypt because it was in your caller description. I remember going to a talk by an Egyptologist years ago, and he was trying to talk about the term that was at that time starting to fade out, so it was possible to possibly use in a scholarly way. The term was metrosexual. I don't know if that word has any currency anymore, but the idea of a heterosexual person, but putting on airs of fashion that has often been associated with being gay, but this Egyptologist applying it to these couples that we see in Egyptian artwork that looks like, okay, these guys look a little bit more close than just co-workers. But the thing is that makes that also a little bit dangerous is that we have things like from the Book of the Dead, which also was very anti-homosexual. So conservatism in the religion, but it becomes interesting. It's like saying, hey, like in the religious text, there's kind of this, what we also like see very similar to like evangelical conservatism when it comes to gender roles, but still trying to push it and say, here we're in your pyramid or in your tomb, and the people who painted up the place, we're going to also make sure that we're together in the afterlife in this structure. So people have been pushing against these things for a long time, and we all find artistic ways to express ourselves and stick it to the man, even when the
there's
man is the
also
pharaoh.
like, yeah, and also be careful because like I had mentioned this. This kind of reminds me, like I had mentioned the way that Christianity's kind of woven its way in to a lot of things in like American paganism and stuff like that, or at least in my experience. Be careful of where you're getting information from, because it's very easy when you're looking for like kind of occult science and like just outside the mainstream, whatever like that, to accidentally pick up some shit by people who are legit crazy. My favorite one is Frank Collin. So if you've ever heard, there's an author out there named Frank Joseph, who publishes books about, I think he's still alive, fortunately, publishes a bunch of books about Atlantis and like all these ancient civilizations like Atlantis, how these super technologically advanced or whatever like that. Dude's a Nazi, who changed his name to Frank Joseph. Yeah, he changed his name to Frank Joseph because his name was Frank Collin. He was the leader of like a Nazi organization in Illinois or whatever. Like, I think it was like the American Nazi Party, and then he got kicked out of that for being a pedo. And so he was fucking, the Nazis even got rid of him. And so he changed his name to Frank Joseph, and now he publishes these books about Atlantis and shit. And you'll find that a lot, especially with Atlantis, a lot of Nazis write books about Atlantis because it fills in that story of like the ancient, beautiful, very white people who were able to do these amazing feats and be so very white. And it's the exact same story as like the Aryan shit. They just replace one great mythical civilization for another. So just be careful, like as you're digging into this stuff, take it all with a massive grain of salt and look into the authors if you can. And just remember that a lot of the time, like you'll get, so we talked a minute ago about Peter McCullough, who's an actual fucking medical doctor who's batshit crazy grifter who lost his license for a very good reason. That person's going to write a book, slap the title doctor on it, talk about what a great training he has, talk about all these other doctors that recommend him, and somebody who doesn't know any better would pick that up. And so it's the same thing here. You can get somebody who claims to be a great archaeologist, claims to be a great Egyptologist, claims to be some great discoverer of ancient, and then it's fucking Ron Wyatt, you know? And he's just selling you horse shit, you know? And so just be careful and do your research, because it is a lot easier to sell a massive steaming pile of horse shit when you're outside of science than when you're actually doing science properly.
Oh yeah, I've been fielding like neo-Nazi works and like, you know, specks of white supremacy stuff. I've been trying to field it as much as possible. I've also noticed like the kind of same like homophobic talking points in like the books that I've been reading. Like I have a Book of the Dead, and I have like a book on the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt. So that's been something I've been trying to like work through as well. I will say, like, I do like watch another person who focuses more on the archaeology side, Minuteman. I think his name's like Milo Rossi. Does some good stuff, and so you know, I already know about the Atlantis stuff. It's just like it's crazy. Anyway,
Milo's great.
Thank you so much. I'll let the other callers come in. I've been taking up too much time.
You're just fine. I appreciate you. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank you for calling in.
Have a good day.
I'm going to be honest with you. That was so much more pleasant than I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to get in some spicy shit right away. And then they turned out to be a really fucking nice person. Like, what was that? You know?
I have to admit, my thought was that it would be a bit more difficult, because what I've seen most people who call themselves chemitists, that they have, it becomes another kind of artificial superiority that they're going for. In this case, everything goes back to Egypt, and this person, though, is just nothing but good vibes.
Yeah, it's pleasant, asked good questions, seem to be on the right track of doing things. Fuck you. For being so kind. We wanted something fiery and angry. It's whatever. No, that was very nice. We've got two other callers on the line as of right now. They are both atheists, so we're gonna jump into them. But theists, we've got lines for you. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, issues with religion in general, with science in general, if you want to call in and talk to us about why Jesus Christ is the only way to salvation, or why we need to read the Bible again because clearly we missed blah 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 this last time, or why the Big Bang makes no sense, or why evolution can't be true, or why there's only two genders and only two bathrooms, or whatever other weird fucking thing is on your mind today. As you've seen, we're very pleasant as long as you are. So pick up that phone, 720-619-2288. Give us a call. And if you're outside of the U.S., you can use the web link in the description. You can call us that way as well. Don't just get in the chat.
And of course, if you happen to be, there's a little bit of time delay, but if you happen to be calling us from the moon, we would love to patch you in and have a chat.
Would love that. So don't just go wait in the chat. We would love to talk to you here. But in the meantime, we're going to talk to Cedric, who wants to ask you, specifically, Aaron, a question about the Big Bang and relativity and stuff. Cedric, you're on the line with Aaron, and mostly Aaron. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Sun is out, which means the snow is melting now, but puddles.
There's snow in Arkansas
everywhere.
still?
Get out.
All right. Well,
so what's going on, Cedric?
I was thinking, so because of general relativity, you pack a bunch of stuff into a small space, and time starts going slower. And so in models of the beginning of the universe that involve a singularity at t equals 0, as we get closer and closer to that t equals 0, time starts moving slower and slower. And so I was wondering, in models like that, can we even say that the universe had a beginning, or no?
Okay, so I know what you're going at, and this becomes a point of complication, but also perhaps simplifying. When we are talking about the effects of time dilation, that's always relative between two different clocks in two different gravitational fields. But if we're talking about the clock that we would use to describe the entire evolution of the universe, that same problem doesn't exist. So it's not the case that because the severity of gravity would get stronger and stronger as we get closer to the singularity, that somehow that time would go slower and slower, that it never actually reaches. It would be to some outside observer that could be the case. But if you're an outside observer of the universe, you are literally outside of space and time. And we don't have a good physics to explain how that is. So that particular issue isn't there.
Okay. I thought this answer was going to be quick, but it's even quicker than I thought.
Well, now I got to add to it, though, because I got to give you, you came for the main course, and I just gave you some soup. I got to give you some more than that. At least let me give you some crackers for your soup. So here is where things do get nice and fun when you do have two different observers and an insane gravitational field. So take just, your average black hole, solar mass sized black hole. You might have one around. It might be locally sourced, probably several thousand light years away, but you get yourself one, and you get yourself an observer, and you, Cedric, decide you are tired of all this theory stuff. You want to find out what's in the middle of that black hole, and you jump in. Now, we're going to give you a spacesuit. It's going to handle things. It's going to hold you together. We're going to avoid all that spaghettification problems, but it's going to be a bumpy ride for you, but we're going to keep you together. The question is, how are things going to look from your point of view and to an outsider's point of view? To an outsider's point of view, they're going to watch you jump towards the black hole, and as you are getting closer and closer, the gravitational field is getting more and more warped, and an outside observer is going to notice weird things because the light coming off of you basically has to take a longer path through bent space-time to get there, and you are going to see things go slower and slower, to the point that once you get to the event horizon, where the speed of light is the escape velocity, to an outside observer, you have stopped. You never actually cross that boundary point to the outside observer. But to Cedric, what does Cedric see? Cedric passes by the event horizon like it's not even there. But once you pass by and try looking up, you end up seeing the entire future of the universe for the entire remaining existence of that black hole. And if it's actually one of those forever black holes that Roger Penrose was proposing when he was first diagramming this stuff out, you would see the entirety of the future of the universe looking back up the way you came. And this means you would know the future of everything in the universe, but you can't tell us about it because you got yourself stuck in a black hole, and we don't know how to get you out.
I did not know that last bit about the future of the universe bit. Though you say, now that you say it, and I think about what that means, and yeah, it does make sense.
If anything with general relativity makes sense, I have to say no, it doesn't. If it does not mess with your mind on every single step, that means, oh no, I got to go back and repeat something. Because believe me, if it were intuitive, it would not have taken a literal Einstein to figure it out.
Well, no, like the time dilation, meaning I'm taking forever to actually fall into or fall through the black hole. So everything else is somewhat catching up to me as I go down.
Mm. Yes. And of course, what happens inside the black hole, your guess is as good as mine. It's probably not what we saw in Interstellar, but we can't prove it's not what happened in Interstellar.
Granted, this is based off a Kirk's video, but the way they put it was like time and space might do like a flip-flop or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that basically the minus sign switches in there. So when you write down the metric for space and time, the time portion has a minus sign in front of it. The space portion has a plus sign with it. But the geometry gets so messed up once you've actually crossed the event horizon, which part gets the minus sign switches. So literally space and time flip in their meaning in that situation. So yeah, it's that crazy.
Advanced physics gets weirder and weirder until you eventually grow a migraine and storm off.
That's kind of what happened to Schrodinger. He got kind of pissed off with how physics was going, and he switched to biology.
Did not know about the switch to biology part. Got annoyed with physics and whatnot. Was something I didn't know from my own quantum mechanics class.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about, Schrodinger and his cat, but he was bringing that up to point out how absurd he thought the interpretation of quantum mechanics had become. And instead, he decided to start focusing on physics, and he came up with ideas like saying, hey, if there is this way of creatures to preserve their information from one generation to the next, there must be some sort of not perfectly repeating crystal lattice sort inside of creatures, and it must be some sort of molecule, and he was basically predicting DNA.
Nice.
So pretty smart cookie. Of course, I think if you want to talk more about DNA, there's somebody else here on the chat, I think, who could say a few more things. I mean, I know there are 3 letters in the alphabet.
I was going to say, I don't know if your cat is nearby.
Not at the moment, not as far as I know.
Saying she'd probably know more about it than me. Anyway, does this answer your question, Cedric?
It answers my question and quite a bit more. Thank you, guys.
Incredible. Wonderful. Happy to be of service. All right, man. Well, call us back should you ever need to. We're happy to help in any way. We'll see you next time.
Have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. We've got coming up next. I love that shit, dude. It just relativity in general blows my mind. A Brief History of Time was one of the first books that I ever really got me into science, and it hasn't stopped freaking me out since. And I know that one's a million years old now, but just every time I learn something new about relativity, I just get excited for the universe that I'm in.
Oh yeah,
Magnus.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic book. When I read it, I'd have to go back to see how out of date it is at this point. But man, oh man, yeah, did Hawking know how to write a book for an audience and get them intrigued? On the other hand, it could also drive you a little bit crazy, because I think that was one of the texts that was instrumental in the movie Donnie Darko.
Oh, nice. Hey, yeah, why not? there's definitely there's an overlap there between weird nerds and weirder nerds. So that's fine. It's fine. Let's talk to Billy. Pronouns he and him, who wants to say that not everything in the universe is natural. Would love to hear how that makes sense. Billy, you're on the line with Forrest and Aaron. How you doing today?
Not bad. Yourself?
All right. I'm all right.
Never had that day, huh?
Never once. So you say not everything in the universe is natural. That's what I've got on the call screen here. Would you like to expound on that for us?
Sure. You 2 callers ago, you said that if something exists in the universe, that means it's natural. I'd like to ask Dr. Adair if he agrees with that statement.
I would say everything so far that we have found in the universe is natural. And I also try to be careful that I call something supernatural if it is a mind without need of a physical body. So ghosts,
Right.
demons, gods would fit that category. And as far as I can tell, they're not around, and it's not for a lack of people trying to find them.
Yeah, so basically, for something to be supernatural, it would have to be outside of nature, and the universe, as far as I am aware, doesn't have anything like that, nor could it. Because if something is in the universe and existing in this universe, it is, by definition, within nature. And unless it was violating nature, it was violating the laws of nature and moving away from nature. I don't know, man, but at the end of the day, it's doesn't look like such a thing exists.
Okay. Dr. Adair, can you explain the mass of the Higgs field for us?
The mass of the field itself doesn't have mass. What has mass is the Higgs boson, and it gets its mass by self-interaction of the field. That's the very, very basic of it, and I don't think I can perform the math with any finesse that would be helpful. But fundamentally, it's an interaction with the Higgs field that gives the Higgs boson its mass when it forms, and interaction with the Higgs field also give many other subatomic particles mass, because by having that interaction, it ultimately gives them kind of a stickiness, keeps them below the speed of light, and makes them putt around at sublight speeds with mass.
I also have a question for you about fields that I just want to make sure I'm saying something right. Because I was taught to say as a non-physicist that you can think of a field kind of like a body of water, and the surface of the water is our universe, or our not our universe, but our experience, the whatever existence we're in is right above that. And so when there's a wave or a ripple that kind of goes above that threshold, that's the excitation that we recognize as a particle. But the rest of the field is still there below the... Is that a good metaphor, or is that just total bullshit?
It's in the neighborhood of a good explanation. To give it more fullness, a field is basically just saying that there is some value at every single point in space and time. So every single coordinate, it would have some value for the field, a magnitude, a direction if necessary, if it's a vector field versus a scalar field, etc. But that just is to add more fancy math words to saying every point in space has a value. And when it comes to quantum fields, that we talk about these excitations, you could imagine if you have a big enough of a water wave that it smashes together, that you get those little drops of water spitting out and becoming separate from the rest of the field. That's kind of how you could imagine particles emerging from it. You have enough energy to be at the lowest possible energy level in that quantum field.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I get vector versus scalar. That makes it make more sense to me to think about it as a thing that could either be stagnant or dynamic. So okay, cool. That makes way more sense, and I like the way you described it better than the way that I learned it freaking 13 years ago. So that's way better. Billy, does this answer your question, or did you have something more you wanted to ask about?
I would like to ask Dr. Adair if are you aware that scientists describe the mass of the Higgs field as being unnatural? There's peer-reviewed scientific literature that goes through that concludes that the mass of the Higgs field is unnatural. And
can I ask what? But before he answers, what peer-reviewed literature are you referencing right now? Can you give me an example?
There's a paper called "The Higgs / So Simple Yet So Unnatural." That's the one that comes right off the top of my head. If you look that up, it's called The Higgs / So Simple Yet So Unnatural, and that's one paper. There's also
I've got so I don't have a
YouTube
paper. I'm going to keep searching. I've got what looks to be a PowerPoint presentation that's on CERN's website.
Well, there are peer-reviewed. It's peer-reviewed in journals, so you should be able to find it in a.
Well, I'm hitting the
journal.
DOI, and it's taking me to, like, I've found a few sources, but I'm not seeing here. Let me get a PDF. Ah, here we go.
I found it on the archive.
By Alterelli.
Yeah, I don't remember who the author is. It's been a while since
It's Alterelli. It's Alterelli. So this is published. When was this put out? 2013. It looks like. I'm just going to read the abstract out loud for everybody. We present concise outlook on particle physics after the last LHC results as the Large Hadron Collider. At 7 to 8. You know what TeV is all about? You should probably be reading this.
Tera electron volts, trillions of electron volts.
Oh, yeah.
And this is about half of what full power of the LHC is capable of.
Wow. The discovery of the Higgs boson at 126, I'm guessing that's giga electron volts then for GeV, will remain as one of the major physics discovery of our time. But also the surprising absence of any signals of new physics, if confirmed by the continuation of the LHC experiments, is going to drastically change our vision of the field. At present, the indication is that nature does not too much care about our notion of naturalness. That's a great sentence. Still, the argument for naturalness is a solid one, and we are facing a puzzling situation. We review the established facts so far and present a tentative assessment for the open problem. So that's what this paper is all about. That's the abstract for this.
My basic understanding is, I think, when they're talking about naturalness or not naturalness with the Higgs mass, is that basically the Higgs mass is about the lowest it could possibly be. And people were thinking, hey, why should it be down here if there's supposed to be all this other physics that we're expecting? Because there's these other issues in physics suggesting, hey, there needs to be these other either forces or interactions of quantum fields to explain things. And we have
supersymmetry.
Yes. Yeah, supersymmetry is one of the options there. Because like there are some things out there that are a bit weird when it comes to the particle masses. In particular, we see that there are like these flavors of the different particles out there. So you got your electron, but there's also a heavier version of the electron called the muon, and there's a heavier version of that called the tauon. There's also similar things with a bunch of the other particles, with the quarks, etc. And as you have these other generations of particles, their mass goes up, and people are trying to figure out, well, why do they have these particular masses? Why are they ordered in this sort of way? What is giving the this setup? And when the Higgs boson mass was found to be so low, to the point that it may not even necessarily be the case that the Higgs field is actually stable long term. It's what's called metastable, that there's this possibility through quantum tunneling that perhaps the ground state of the vacuum could go lower. And if that were to happen, then you would basically have every point in the universe begin to start going into a lower energy state, releasing its energy. And it's like, hey, all of a sudden, this tiny point in space expands out the speed of light and everything goes supernova, and you can't possibly escape it, because by the time it gets to you is the moment you could possibly start seeing it, because it'll expand out the speed of light. Weird things like that coming out because of the low mass of the Higgs boson. So I don't think this is also a bit different than talking about natural versus supernatural, in that we don't have a good explanation for why it should be this particular mass, that we can't say why it should necessarily be so low, versus there are angels and demons making it that low.
I think that you're you might be conflating unnatural with supernatural, which those are two separate things. Let me ask. I'll ask Forrest this: if the genome never existed, would the Hoover Dam exist?
I don't know.
You don't
I'm
know.
looking up this Alterelli paper, because I found that this was cited. So what I did is I just out of curiosity, because I was interested to see like what other people were saying about this. So I just went to Google Scholar and typed in this paper, and then I found who was citing this paper. And I found a few papers, a few other people that since because this was published in 2013. So I'm looking now at who's citing this. And yeah, so like here's this thing that I found, and I'm just going to read a sentence out of this. This is another paper called "Elementary Particles: What Are They? Substances, Elements, and Primary Matter" by Cabaret et al. This was published in 2021, so almost a decade after the one that you're giving me here. And where they cited this is as so they're saying the highest energy resolutions obtained at CERN and the LHC experimental runs haven't disclosed elementary particles other than those already registered. This may have given some expectations to despair. And they cite this paper with that statement. While others are confirmed in their working hypotheses that elementary particle scheme offered the so-called standard model of particle physics, see below, has good enough chances to be effectively terminal or at least extendable to much higher energy ranges. And then they actually cite the same paper in saying that. So without reading this paper, because I did scroll through a little bit, and they've got some math in here that's way above my pay grade. I don't know how to do Lagranges and shit. But I just, by looking up, rather than just using this one paper as a sensationalist thing to say, oh my God, here's this one single scientist who published this paper that seems at face value to challenge something that I know. I just went to Google Scholar with it and found it, and then it has a page you can click there that says cited by, and you can see everybody else who's citing, which quite a few people have cited this, and saw somebody who was recent that is referencing it, and they explain in just this one sentence that apparently this paper isn't only saying that this is a possible bad thing, or that this is a reason to, as they say, despair and to worry that our models are all for naught. But actually, this same paper also makes the case, because it's going to argue both sides likely, that the standard model of particle physics as we have it is, as they use the word, terminal. It is all we need to know moving forward about how particle physics works, at least at that level that we understand it now, or even higher energy levels that we'll get to later, as Aaron was talking about with muon and tau and shit. So, or tauon. So, I don't know, man. It sounds like the people who know this way fucking better than me aren't freaking out about it. It's just an interesting question about, like, maybe we need to reevaluate our models, or maybe we don't. And that's nothing new in science. But again, this is my first time hearing about any of this, and I'm just looking into it, and I'm also not a physicist.
And I do want to note that the big thing that they're talking about right now when it comes to the Higgs is that this is, the newest particle that we've been able to confirm. It's so important. And it also, because of the Higgs field, relates to and links to so many other particles and forces. It is basically the go-to particle that we need to be researching more and producing more and more of them to get enough statistics to see, hey, can we actually start distinguishing anything when it comes to why is there more matter than antimatter in the universe, for example. That's one I would love to have some insight onto, because we do not have a good full explanation for that. And it's something we're basically saying, hey, if we just follow our basic math and look at the universe, we shouldn't be here at all. Because every time energy forms enough or collides enough to provide the enough energy to produce mass, it produces a matter version and antimatter version of a particle. For example, electron, anti-electron, proton, antiproton. And what do those things like to do? Find each other and annihilate each other. And what we can tell is that happened in the early universe, but about 1 part in a billion survived that onslaught. And we don't have an explanation why that was a fraction of residue that left behind. There are some things that can explain a fraction of that fraction, but it's still a huge open question in physics that we don't have an answer to. And I say, whether it's a Higgs factory or what other method to figure that out, we have a lot more physics to do to understand why we are here, and we're not just a bunch of photons.
And if I can also just add one more quick thing, just to bring it back to a cooler field of study, which is biology. I think that the language that they use in this, I'm looking at the original paper that you referenced here, and the language that they're using isn't really alarming to me. So even just going back to that, what I said was an amazing sentence in the abstract here. It says, at present, the indication is that nature does not care too much about our notion of naturalness. I think that's a fantastic sentence. And the reason why isn't just because it's provocative. It's because as a biologist, that happens a lot. So like, for example, viruses. Viruses are not technically alive. And yet they're doing whatever they want. And I have said several times, viruses don't seem to care what we think because they're doing everything you would expect a living thing to do without being alive. Namely, reproducing, except they can't really do it by themselves, and more importantly, evolving like fucking crazy. And so at the end of the day, what it sounds like, and I don't want to speak for this author, but just from my cursory glance over their work here, it sounds like they're saying the same thing that I say about biology every time I'm asked to explain why I love biology so much, which is that we have no idea what life actually is. We have a list of 7 qualifications that life in general does. Not every living thing can possibly do all 7 of those things. Many living things don't do, a couple less. And then we have viruses that do maybe 3 of the 7 and don't give a fuck. And so I say all the time that life doesn't care about our definitions of life and doesn't care about the boxes that we draw around life. And that if you ever haven't been profoundly shocked by life, you just need to turn over another rock. And it sounds like this author is saying the same thing here. This is the experiment they ran, and they expected to get something pretty crazy, but this seems to be at least hinting that it could be breaking the most fundamental model of particle physics that holds all this shit together for us. If it does, that's not new. That happens all the time. But, as I've mentioned with that other paper, he also talks about, apparently, the fact that that's not necessarily the case. So, it sounds like this is pretty standard, really excited scientist talk. Doesn't sound like this indicates anything supernatural or magical or anything like that. Where would you like to try to insert God into this, Billy?
I'm focusing more on unnatural, not supernatural. I guess maybe the Hoover Dam wasn't a good idea. If the genome never existed, abiogenesis never happened, would your car exist?
Well, those are 2 different questions. If the genome never existed and if abiogenesis never happened are 2 different things. So which one are we talking about?
I think abiogenesis would include the genome coming into existence, right?
No, it doesn't.
Isn't the genome required for life?
No, it's not. So there's actually 3 different models on this. So when you talk about the genome, you're talking about DNA. You also have RNA. So you actually have a whole set of RNA. The full complement of RNA and everything that it is and does and whatever in your body is called your transcriptome. And we also have your proteome, which is all the proteins and whatever proteins can do. And we actually have 3 competing models on this of what we call the RNA world, the DNA world, or the protein world hypotheses, which are talking about which one of these things came first to create the complex system of cell division and function and everything that we see today. And so if we don't have a genome evolving...
biological. Sorry.
If we don't have a genome coming into existence, we could have had a transcriptome and life could have been completely RNA-based. There are plenty of viruses that are completely RNA-based. And as I said earlier, they don't give a fuck that we don't call them alive. And we also could have had totally protein-based situations if we really wanted to, but that would be a little bit more complicated in my opinion. But yeah, these are all we don't know exactly which one of these things came first or how they happened. We do know, for example, RNA self-replicates. So we very likely could have had just a totally RNA-based world and not needed a genome in any case.
Well, my overall question was to point out the fact that if life never happened, your car wouldn't exist, right? Your computer wouldn't exist,
right?
Because these are things that have been constructed by intelligent, agents, and so when you look at your car is an unnatural object, right? A book is an unnatural object. Your computer.
No, it's
I
disagree.
Okay, can you? How could a car be a natural object?
Is a beaver dam natural?
No.
Okay, well, see, we have a disagreement then, because I would say that animal behavior is a natural phenomenon, and so a beaver is a natural thing. What it does naturally in its natural environment is a natural behavior. So if you're going to say that animal behavior is unnatural, then I would want you to define exactly where the line is there. Is an animal going to sleep and waking up at a certain time of day natural or unnatural?
Like in my opinion, life itself is is unnatural. Life is an unnatural.
Okay, well then that's
life.
Well then we are never going to agree on anything about biology then, because life is definitionally part of the natural world. When we talk about nature, we're not just talking about rocks. We're talking about the things that live around those rocks.
But life is a product of an unnatural mechanism.
No, it's not.
I.e., the genome.
So is this where you? I asked a minute ago, where would you like to try to insert God into all of this? It sounds like abiogenesis is where you're intending to insert God.
I would, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about God, but an intelligent, a God scale system or an intelligent mechanism, sure.
Okay, so now we're gonna have to go down the whole thing of you're gonna need to compare and contrast your model with the existing model of abiogenesis. Go over the data with me, go over the evidence, and show me how your mechanism makes more sense.
I can't do that because I've tried to do that before and it didn't go well. But my argument is that not everything in the universe is natural. I.e., your car is not natural. It's an object.
It is.
It's not a natural object.
You said that already, and I still disagree with you, because cars were made by animals, and therefore it is a product of animal behavior, and therefore it is a natural thing. I know unnatural is a fun, easy way to say human-made things, but humans are just animals exhibiting animal behavior. They are not using any unnatural materials to make these things. What they are doing is a natural thing, in the same way that if we say a chimpanzee picks up a rock and cracks a nut with it, or fashions a spear to go hunting bush babies, they are modifying things around them to make tools, and then using those tools to do stuff in their environment to survive better, exactly the same way that our ancestors did, going back millions of years, and exactly as we do today. These are all natural things. So if you're going to say that any of this is unnatural, it doesn't matter, because your initial claim, the foundation of this is that life itself is unnatural, and you need a model to demonstrate that. You can't, if you're just going to say, no, life came about by some intelligent thing, then all I have to do is say no, and we've done the exact same amount of arguing. Aaron, you had something?
I mean, I was
going to also quickly interject on a point of definition that might also help clear things up. When we're talking about natural in terms of naturalism, what we mean is that everything is consistent with the laws of nature. So I am able to build a car if I have the engineering knowledge, but every single item I use is made of atoms, which obey the laws of nature. I use the fundamental forces of nature to push those atoms around, in this case with hammers, with screws, etc. The fact that everything fundamentally is made of stuff in nature, of following the laws of nature, is what I mean, and what I think most people do mean by naturalism, the laws of nature. And what we call unnatural or artificial is just things that can happen in the natural world, but that agents are involved, in such case humans, because we like to distinguish the stuff we do versus the stuff that rivers do, or beavers do, or what have you. Because I don't like comparing myself to a beaver. I can never... It's really that. It's an ego thing for me, because if I look at their work and compare it to mine, I'm just like constantly embarrassed, and I just have to suppress that as much as I can.
My dams are bullshit.
So then essentially, there are no unnatural objects at all.
No, not in the universe. No, I mean, and again, you can make it semantic all you like, and even if I were to agree with you that like something human made is unnatural for use of just the colloquial use of that word, I'm fine with that. Like if I say something's unnatural because a human did something really fucked up or weird, I'm using that term colloquially. If we agree to that and we want to go with that, whatever. But to say that versus saying that life itself is an unnatural thing, that's a huge different thing. So rather than getting into the semantics of that, of whether or not a car is unnatural, whether or not life is unnatural is a much, much better use of everyone's time here.
Do you want me to try the syllogism again? I mean, I can, but I have a feeling it's gonna... You would need to give me a mechanism. So, like, I can give you mechanisms that explain where life comes from, and they don't have
all the answers. You know, there's some holes in our understanding. There are things we don't know yet. But if we could boil the beginning of life down to like 10 rhetorical steps, we have like 7 or 8 of those steps down pat. And I can talk to you about those and break them down for you. If you're going to say there's some intelligent thing that is required for life to get started, then you need more than just saying it. You need to demonstrate that this intelligent thing exists. You need to demonstrate that it can create life. You need to demonstrate that it did create life. And then you need to break down the mechanisms by which it created life. Show me how it did it. Otherwise, I'm just saying this happened naturally, and you're saying it happened unnaturally, and nothing matters. If you ask me how anything in the world happens, I can just say, oh, it's a natural process. And I don't have to explain shit.
Okay. I mean, I guess there's. I could go over the syllogism. I mean, but
I don't want a syllogism. I want a mechanism.
I mean, well, the syllogism is what I use to demonstrate that life is unnatural. So
right, but I'm gonna. If I grant you today that life isn't natural, okay, then how did life come about? I agree that it's unnatural for the sake of this discussion. How did it happen? Okay, well then it's useless to me.
I don't know.
Then this is useless.
I mean,
this isn't science.
I don't think that anybody could know like exactly, what it was that.
Okay, well then this is less than useless. This is less than useless then, because you're not only not doing science here, you're actively saying we can't know a thing, which is just not how thinking helps. That's not helping anybody.
I didn't say that we can't know. I just don't think that anybody does know, and I think that
I'm pretty sure you just said nobody could, but
okay.
Specifically, what Billy, I think you said is that we can't know everything about it, and while that might be true, you don't have to necessarily know everything about a thing to know it well enough to understand what's going on. I can drop a basketball and say, this is because of gravity. And I can even say that without understanding general relativity, let alone having a theory of quantum gravity. I can still do a lot, even with a simple theory like Newtonian gravity. But with the God did it, it's not even that we don't know everything. It's that we don't know anything.
I don't know. I'm hesitant to get into the syllogism because of how it went last time. But I guess I'll think about it and call y'all back again another day.
Okay. I don't care about your syllogism. I want you to bring me a mechanism next time you call me. Because at the end of the day, I can give you a logical syllogism for anything I want. Doesn't prove that thing is real or not. I would actually, as a scientist, especially as a biologist, if you're going to tell me you know where life comes from, you need to show me how that happens. You need to give me a model for how that happens. Because if your whole thing is some guy did it, it was unnatural, that doesn't tell me dick. And next time I tell you, if you ask me about evolution, I can just say, oh, it's a totally natural process. It's just natural. I haven't explained anything to you. I haven't told you you haven't learned anything. I just said it's natural. That doesn't do dick. So give me an actual mechanism, give me an actual model, show me how this works. Tell me how the guy did the thing, and then I will be interested. But until then, I'm not.
Okay, well, so just demonstrating if I were be able to demonstrate that life is a product of a natural mechanism, that wouldn't be interesting to you at all.
You would need to tell me what the hell you know. You would need to tell me what you mean by unnatural mechanism.
A mechanism designed by something intelligent, something that can't happen naturally.
Okay, something that can't happen. So we're going with the animal. We're going with the concept that animal behavior is unnatural, and therefore life must be designed by some dude. So yeah, if you gave me an example of that, that'd be a great start. But that's a lot more than just a syllogism.
Yeah, I don't agree with the some dude part. That's not.
Who else?
My argument. I mean, I don't know.
Who else?
I don't claim to know what. I don't claim to know, or have that.
Well, you're saying some intelligent creature, some intelligent being made life, right?
Well, that's not what I said either. I just said that it's the product of intelligence. I don't know if it's a being. I don't know if it's a freaking alien. I don't know if it's a cloud. I don't know what.
If it's intelligent, it's a being. If it's intelligent, it's an agent. These are
right.
You can't be intelligent and not be an agent. If you're an agent with goals, you should clearly show intelligence.
Right. Can you give me an example of intelligence independent, a mind independent, a body?
AI, I guess. I don't know.
AI has physical form.
If I go and wreck the servers, believe me, it's not going to work very well as a chatbot.
Yeah, maybe forgive me. I shouldn't have used the word body. I shouldn't have used the word body. Can you give me an example of intelligence independent of matter?
I cannot.
Right. Neither can I. So that's why I'm saying it's some guy, because that's what if we're talking about any intelligence ever, we're talking about some guy. That's what it always is.
What? Why though? Why does it have to be some guy?
Because there is no other such thing that is intelligent other than some being, some person,
isn't
some
that an
creature.
Argument from ignorance? Isn't that an argument from ignorance though? Like just because we don't know, or just because we don't. We've never seen something intelligent that's apart from matter. That means that it doesn't exist.
Not only have we never seen it, nobody knows a way in which that's even possible. So insofar as it's an argument from ignorance to say, literally, if to say the earth is round, technically, strictly speaking, no one has ever measured every single inch all at the same time to make sure perfectly with every single day. But at the end of the day, we can just say that, right? We can say every planet is a sphere, even though we've never gone and measured every single planet to make sure there isn't a single cuboid planet out there. We can say every planet is a sphere, right? Same thing here. There is absolutely no reason to believe that it is even close to possible for intelligence to exist independent of matter. So if you're saying life got started by anything intelligent, it's some dude, it's some guy somewhere. And that could be, if you're calling it a god, you have a lot of work cut out for you. You could call it an alien, you have less work cut out for you, but still an awful lot. It doesn't get you out of the situation where if it's an alien, if it's something else that lives in this universe, where did that life come from and how did that get started? And if it's something external to this universe, first prove that exists. Second, prove that place that it can be exists. Like, you've got a huge amount of effort here. Even if you were to dismantle everything we know about the beginning of life, you haven't done the first thing to back up your actual claims.
Right. I mean, it could be just a God scale system that is unknown, but I mean,
lots of things could be lots of things.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Thank you guys for your, thanks for the conversation, and I will talk to you later.
Take care, Billy. Yeah, this is the biggest problem that I have with creationism. Is like you could listen to the Discovery Institute, you listen to Answers in Genesis, you listen to the other ones, the Institute for Creation Research, all these fucking grifters and charlatans out here that are trying like hell to undermine science, and all they ever give you is arguments against the natural world, arguments against the Big Bang, arguments against evolution. Okay, fine, put it all away. Now what? How does it work?
Yeah. It's always just, it's too complicated. Gotta be the guy.
Right. And then when we just, it's when we don't know something, it's some guy. And when we do know something, that's very complicated, so it's some guy. Aaron's going to go fight in the Spice Wars for a minute. He's dead. He's gone. And that's great because we have two other calls left as of right now. Lines are still open. But the two calls that we have are both about physics that I don't understand. So I'm going to try my absolute best until Aaron returns. But in the meantime, while I continue doing this, I believe in me. I encourage folks to call us if you believe in whatever. To the person who had to get timed out in chat, Chaz, whatever, talking about complex specified information and all these things, call in. I talk about that shit for a living, yo. Let's talk about the thing that you stole from Stephen Meyer. Let's talk about it. It'll be a lot of fun. 720-619-2288, or use the web link down in the description, and let's talk about things. Let's talk next to Michael, pronouns he and him, who wants to talk about Bose-Einstein condensate. I'm going to do my best. Michael, you're on the line with Forrest and only Forrest. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Forrest. I do know that Aaron is the physics guy, so if you want, I can talk. I have a question about evolution.
No, I'm here for the physics one. Let's go. Get out of
All
here,
right, cool.
Aaron. Get
So-
out of here.
Fine.
So
All right, Michael, you got us both on the line. What's going on?
Yeah, the fifth state of matter, the Bose-Einstein condensate, when you get super cold, and I mean, I'm sure you know what it is, but I just wanted to know. I did a little bit of research, and this is just an honest to God question, and it seems like it has unique quantum properties that make it useful in certain things, like timekeeping. But yeah, how does that work? What are the actual practical applications for that? Just
Bro, I'm so
Practical
glad you came back.
applications. Oh boy.
I'm so glad you came back.
All right.
The second somebody
have-
says quantum properties, I'm out. I don't know what. I'm assuming it's bullshit.
Fortunately, this is not bullshit, but this
Yeah.
is interesting shit, and it's because at very low temperatures, it's very cool shit. However, you cannot make your shit into a Bose-Einstein condensate because your shit is made out of the wrong kind of stuff. So specifically, to make a Bose-Einstein condensate, it is made with bosons, which is a kind of particle, and unfortunately, you and I are primarily made of fermions and things like that. So if you want a boson, you need things like light, for example.
Boson are force-carrying particles, right? It's the photon, gluon, and then no, gluon isn't. Photon, gluon, the W and Z is the ones for the beta decay, and then there isn't one for gravity, right?
Well, at least one we haven't detected for gravity. If there is a graviton, is to be determined. But yeah,
And
the
gluon
force
is strong
carriers like the
force, and
gluons, the
W and Z
Higgs.
is weak force.
Yes, and there's multiple different kinds of W's, W plus, W minus. Why do they have these sorts of names? Historical reasons, ultimately.
I'm trying to get this to where somebody stupid like me can. I mean, I want to make sure I'm on the same page.
Yes. Now, the thing is, what's the difference between a boson and a fermion? It's a minus sign.
Right on.
When you are describing these kinds of particles in quantum field theory, literally the difference between the two is fermions have these minus signs, bosons have plus signs, and the whole reason this matters is that when you have fermions, they aren't allowed to have the same quantum number. So you can't have two of the exact same particles in the same spot, which is also kind of nice because this is the reason that things actually take up space. They don't collapse in on themselves. You can't walk through walls because you and I are made of fermions, and those fermions just can't, collapse together to any tiny amount. Bosons, on the other hand, you can have as many bosons you want, all occupying the exact same spot. So this is one of the reasons these Bose-Einstein condensates can be interesting, because you got a whole bunch of bosons all hanging out in the exact same spot. Now, to make things even crazier, you could turn a fermion into a boson, because we can go with our most basic thing that we learned from arithmetic. What's a minus times a minus?
Oh, it's positive.
Positive.
So one of the predictions you have is if you take two fermions and if you have them close enough together, they could potentially together act like a boson. And I think there have been some experiments to show that hydrogen in particular circumstances can be boson-like, but I don't know where the state of the art is on that research. I just remember one of my physics professors when I was in grad school was focused a lot on that because that was the cool thing to investigate. Can you make fermions act like bosons? Now, what are the practical applications for Bose-Einstein condensates? The only places I remember hearing them being used is to create these circumstances where light passes through the Bose-Einstein condensate at the speed that I walk. So instead of light going approximately 300,000 kilometers per second, or about the distance from the Earth to the moon, instead, I could beat light in a bicycle race. If it has to pass through this Bose-Einstein condensate. I really don't know enough about the condensed matter physics for all of that going on there, but that's one of the cool things I have heard that have been done with those sorts of things. But beyond that, I honestly don't know what the applications are. You'd have to talk with someone who much more specializes in that. It's way outside of my field of research.
No, I appreciate it. That is
Yeah.
really cool to know. I mean, like, maybe this is also outside your field of research, and I apologize, but why would you want to make light move slower just so you can actually take measurements of photons?
That's also a good question for like what is the practical application. I'm going to be just really speculative right now because I do not know. So please take this not with just a caveat, not a pinch of salt, an ocean of salt.
Like a bag. Gotcha.
Oh, more than a bag. I'm saying like go to the ocean, evaporate all the water, then take all that salt and carry that with what I'm about to say. I'm
Okay.
imagining one of the ideas for future computers is to actually use photons to do the arithmetic operations. It's sometimes called a photon computer. I wonder if this kind of engineering could lead to photon computation, but honestly, I'm being extremely speculative. I do not know.
No, I know what you're talking about. Like transmitting information via light. Like, yeah, no, that would be really cool.
Well, I mean, transmitting information by light, we've been doing that in some ways since like 1900 with radio. But this would actually be doing computation with light in the same way of how we use electrons in transistors to do computations, to do logic gates and things like that. We're trying to do something like that with quantum mechanics and with quantum computers. My understanding is there are also theoretical ways of doing this with light as well. But again, these details vastly escape me, and I do not know how to give you good information. My whiteboard was gross.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I was sitting here cleaning my whiteboard, and people in the chat are speculating about what I might be doing with my arm off screen. It was stained because I used a new blue marker, and it made it all nasty. So while you're here doing really cool science, I'm over here scrubbing the bullshit out of it, and our chat is disgusting. So I don't know. Get your minds out of the gutter or maybe further into it, y'all.
All right. Now,
okay.
very, very quickly, I have looked through, and there's, I guess, one other thing that could be a bit useful. Well, I'm not going to say useful, but things that are also very cool. When you get elements like helium down to extremely low temperatures where they become a fluid, you can actually, I shouldn't say a fluid, getting them down to being a liquid. Helium will do some really crazy stuff because of quantum mechanics where you've probably heard of superconductivity. Certain materials that get them cold enough, they no longer have electrical resistance. With helium, you get that cold enough in its liquid form, it actually loses all viscosity. There's no friction in the helium, and it does all sorts of wacky, crazy stuff. You have it in a bowl, well, some of the random helium molecules will have enough energy to just ride up the bowl and drip out. So you have a bowl of helium, and it'll just like hop out of the bowl and start just pouring out the sides when it becomes a superfluid, as it's called, because everything in physics should be super.
That is cool. I actually think I've seen examples of that. You were talking about fermions and bosons. Now, when I learned about the Bose-Einstein condensate, I learned that it was a state that you observed when temperature approached absolute zero. But now that you've mentioned the two different types of stuff, or now I'm wondering, is that how you make fermions behave like bosons, and a boson, like a true Bose-Einstein condensate, doesn't actually have to be at absolute zero?
If memory serves, no, they don't have to be at absolute zero, and in fact, they couldn't anyways. One of the laws of physics is that you can't reach absolute zero in a finite number of cooling steps. You can get extremely close. We have gotten temperatures down to very, very small fractions of a degree above absolute zero, like billionths of a Kelvin, crazy cold like that. But it's not possible to reach absolute zero. And I think the Bose-Einstein condensate stuff happens well above zero, like in the order of like a couple of Kelvin. But again, the details for that are beyond my knowledge, and I don't want to say more than I can justify.
I still appreciate what you give me. This is very cool.
I know. Well, I hope this was
Whatever
helpful
you do,
to you,
though,
Michael.
do not stick your hand in a Bose-Einstein condensate. It'll be the last thing your hand ever does.
Don't let him tell you what to do.
I mean, hey, prosthetics exist for a reason, right?
Exactly. I hope this is helpful to you, Michael. But sorry, Aaron, did you have anything else you want to throw in there?
I just noticed, Michael, he's in Virginia, he's in the U.S. even though prosthetics are great, you have to deal with the American health insurance system. I don't think you want to deal with that, Michael.
Nightmare. So when you stick your hand in a Bose-Einstein condensate, do it in Europe or Scandinavia or Canada.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Anywhere else.
Take a trip to Geneva.
Right? Yes. Go to CERN to do it, is what I'm saying. Yeah, and then you'll be fine.
I wonder if that's why that one Russian scientist stuck his head in the particle accelerator, because he knew he had great health.
Because he knew he'd be fine. Exactly.
I don't think that's ever happened, and especially, here's the real problem. Well, which particle accelerator are you talking about? There is definitely no way you would stick your head in the beam of the large ring at the Large Hadron Collider. There have been other accidents, yes, where beams have gone through people's hands and heads and gotten terrible radiation dosages. But if you were just downstairs by the machine when it was running, you would be dead from the X-rays it gives off. When you have charged particles and you have them accelerating, which also includes just going in a big circle, it gives off something called Bremsstrahlung radiation. And for the Large Hadron Collider, it's going to be a large amount of polarized X-rays it's going to give off. So if you are down in the cavern when the thing is running, you are a dead dog. You are a dead man. You are not going to have any more days, good or otherwise.
That's intense.
Okay, I
so
just
please,
looked it up. No, you're right.
Don't do that.
He didn't do it on purpose, but it did happen.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Right on, man.
Anatoly Bogorsky, in case you wanted to fact check me. But yeah, no, thank you for answering my question.
Thanks.
I was just curious about it.
Sick. Awesome, man. Thanks so much for your call. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Hey, you too. Never a bad day, right?
Never once. I did write Jorkin your penis on the line as an extension to when people were talking, but it's neither here nor there. Welcome back to our hit show, Jorkin your penis. We've got one other caller who's been waiting for like an hour and a half, and they're an atheist, and they want to talk about quantum physics, which is fucking awesome. So, like, I'm excited to do another science call, but y'all, we still have this might just be a short show today. We've done our prerequisite 90 minutes. We're at the 90-minute mark on the show. So if this is the whole thing, then that's okay. That's what it is. That's what we're contractually obligated to do at risk of physical violence from Jimmy Snow. But at the end of the day, I would still love to talk to some sort of theist. If somebody wants to call in and tell us about evolution or the Big Bang or the Bible, this is still a show where you can do that. Those numbers on the bottom of the screen there, 720-619-2288, or use the web link in the description. Looks like we already have somebody coming in the call screen now, so we'll see if they are able to make it through. Hopefully so. But let's talk next to Aiden, who is our last atheist caller of the night probably, who wants to talk about quantum physics and consciousness. Aiden, you are on the line with Forrest and Aaron. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
All right. Thank you for hanging out for so long.
Yeah, of course. So I just wrote down like 3 sentences so I don't go off on a ramble.
Smart.
Is it cool if I read that?
Yeah, please.
Go for it.
Cool. So I've been talking with my dad, and he says he's heard people say things like everything could be energy, or everything could be explained by quantum physics or something, or even some sort of higher dimension that can explain like consciousness outside the brain, near-death experiences, or ghost sightings. From a biology and physics perspective, are these legit explanations, or are they misunderstandings? And if they are misunderstandings, is there any harm in believing them?
Well, we could give the terse answer or the full answer, because I was going to say, are they, does quantum mechanics make any of that stuff reasonable? No. Is it harmful? I think so, but I'm pretty sure you want to have some meat on these bones. So,
yeah, I was going to say the same thing about biology. No, it does not explain anything. Yeah, there's a problem with believing it.
I mean, first off,
okay, cool.
in general, believing things without good reasons is, in the vast majority of cases, not a good thing. And allowing yourself to say, occasionally it's okay to believe things as true that you don't have good reasons to believe is it has far more problems than it's worth having. So that's my first push. It's just that in general, let's actually care about true things rather than finding excuses for why we're going to not believe true things because of X reason. But more importantly, the whole idea that quantum mechanics is weird, therefore all this other weird stuff can become reasonable, is, I don't know if it fits a formal fallacy other than maybe just a massive non sequitur. Is quantum mechanics weird, or does it give weird results? Yes. Does that mean ghosts are real? There's no actual connection there. And there's no like necessary connection between quantum mechanics and consciousness. The arguments there is usually that somehow consciousness creates the universe, and the double slit experiment is somehow supposed to show that. This is unfortunately misinformation that it should be corrected. And if I can do some self-promotion, I'll be doing another YouTube stream tomorrow night on the channel Misinformation, smaller YouTube channel. Please check that out. We'll be talking some quantum mechanics stuff than my own research. And more importantly, ghosts are supernatural, so explaining them with something natural, like how electrons move, is just it's just to not disconnect completely. You might as well say you could explain ghosts with gravity. The whole point is that ghosts are supposed to somehow be ethereal, supernatural entities. Quantum mechanics is not the supernatural. Quantum mechanics just shows how freaking cool the natural is, how weird the natural is. The coolest thing, of course, you can do with quantum mechanics is, I don't know, build these tiny little transistors that can allow current to travel through or not travel through, and change that very quickly. So you can build logic gates, so you can do arithmetic, so you can build the internet.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I fully agree with you. I just didn't know how to articulate any of that to my dad because I'm young and I don't know shit about any of that. So I really appreciate that. So I'll bring this back to him.
To try to give a little bit of respect to the position about a connection between consciousness and quantum mechanics, the Nobel laureate, oh my goodness, his name just escaped me, Roger Penrose, he has proposed an idea of our brain and our consciousness and our creativity being related to quantum states coming and decohering, and trying to explain that with certain brain structures called microtubules. This is not a mainstream view of the brain and consciousness and all that. And quantum mechanic wise, it's also kind of a hard sell because the brain is this big, hot thing, at least hot relative to what we normally deal with when it comes to seeing quantum effects. Like with the previous caller, we were talking about things like Bose-Einstein condensates. And to see like the weird quantum effects there, you're at like a few Kelvin, a few degrees above absolute zero. My body temperature is roughly 300 Kelvin, which is way, way, way more than you would allow in any experiment if you wanted to see quantum effects. So the idea that that's how our brain works in this big, noisy, hot thing with fluids all over the place, it seems very hard to fathom. But it is at least a view that a Nobel physics laureate and the teacher of Stephen Hawking has pushed. So I need to at least show it that much respect before I tell you it's probably not going to be the truth.
Okay. That makes some sense, as much as I can make it in my head right now. But thank you. That's very helpful.
Oh, yeah. Right, well, if you have anything else, we'd be happy to knock it out right now, because we're about to move on to what may be our last call of the night. But this has been productive so far, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. Go for the next caller. Thank you, guys.
All right. Take care, Aiden, and have your dad call us sometime if he wants to.
I will. Thank you.
All right. See you later. All right. Let's talk next. We have, looks like one theist and one atheist on the line, so we'll take the theist first, and then we'll take our last atheist, and then we'll do super chats, and then we'll all fuck off. Let's talk to Alex, who is wanting to talk about the logicality of God and man. Alec, you are on the line with Forrest and Aaron. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Never had a bad day, dude.
Good here.
Awesome.
I'm taking it easy. We got
awesome.
all calls about physics today. This is easy.
Oh, so I'm like your first theist you're getting?
Oh, no, we had another theist, but like it barely touched into a little bit of biology for me. Like we've been getting a ton of physics calls. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
so if you could find some way of like including RNA in your question, that would make Forrest very happy.
Well, if I'm being fully honest, I don't know about RNA. I don't really know like too much, but I do appreciate how DNA, you need an actual code for it to work, and that code has to come from somewhere, but that's neither here nor there.
It's not as cool of an argument as theists think. I want to talk about what you want to talk about. What was your thing that you wanted to discuss?
Oh, that's really kind of you guys. Basically, I'm kind of coming from an atheist point of view in a way, because I was like an atheist agnostic. I would consider myself a nihilist beforehand, before I became, well, I was actually born into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're called Mormons. You're probably familiar with the term. But I actually approached religion from a very agnostic and atheistic like point of view. Like, you have these supernatural claims, and it's just some guy saying it, right? And until you actually like test it out, like, it's funny, I actually used a scientific method on some of the things that didn't make sense to me in religion, and I got some interesting results. And some of it can be deemed supernatural. A lot of it, I think 100% of it's subjective, except for the points where I got good results. And if it's good, I won. I don't care what it is, as long as it's not harmful. And I just kept getting those results. But anyway, I'm just going to ramble on if I don't center my topic here. But basically, for me, from kind of this like agnostic lens, it makes more sense to me that God is a person, and that he knows everything, and that he knows how the universe works. Because I think that if we were to, like, you've watched Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
I like a point that Captain Picard makes where he's told by another entity who's supernatural Q. He says, eon after eon, you humans are going to continue to advance and explore. He says, eons, you have any idea how far we'll progress? And he said, I don't know, perhaps even beyond us. And he was like an omnipotent, omniscient being. And I'm totally down with that. And I think a lot of, like, you guys as atheists, do you think that if humanity were to continue to explore and progress, we would become godlike in a way, because we'd be able to understand how physics works, we could replicate it, maybe even make planets and life and so forth?
And do you want to go first, Aaron?
First, though, I think I have to make an important correction. If memory serves, Q said that to Riker and pre-Beard Riker in one of the earlier episodes of Next Generation. This is me being pedantic, and I could also be corrected. I'm sure there are some Trekkies in the chat, so if I'm wrong, call me out. I would say throw me out the airlock, but that isn't a standard Star Trek punishment sort. So beam me to a place to be incarcerated. Aurora Pente. Beam me to Aurora Pente for my punishment. There, that's nice in Star Trek. Okay. One might say I follow Star Trek religiously. Now,
nice.
If we want to build planets, obviously you need the technology, you need the energy, and the energy to do that is on the order of like the output of stars. So it's ultimately a question, can we ever actually harness that level of energy in a confined enough civilization that can actually be used to such a project? And open question to me if that's even achievable. There has been a fair bit of research into things like Dyson spheres or Dyson swarms. The idea of basically having a whole bunch of energy collectors that would absorb or bounce around most, if not all, the energy of a star like the sun, and then being able to utilize the entire energy output of a star. And the amount of energy the sun provides us is just the tiniest fraction of all the energy the sun puts out every second. Because most of the sunlight doesn't land on the Earth. It just goes out everywhere else. And if we could somehow collect that, we could do a lot. And when it comes to the amount of energy, I have done this calculation for Star Wars. When the Death Star fires and destroys Alderaan, how much energy is required to do that? I've done the math on this. I wasn't the first one to, but I did the math and checked and realized, yes, indeed, the energy output of the Death Star would have to have been the equivalent of about a week's worth of energy of the sun fired into the Earth to cause it to explode like that. So that's how crazy powerful the Death Star is. On the other hand, there's a problem with that, and this is the thing that I had worked out for the first time. What's the recoil? on the Death Star.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Why weren't they blown to the bats?
Yes, and I did the math, and I said, like, under the most generous of interpretations, so first I went onto Wikipedia to get what are the dimensions of the Death Star, and then I made some assumptions to simplify it and give it the best case scenario. I said it's just solid iron. There's no compartments. It's just a big solid iron ball. And I say, let's say the firing sequence takes 5 seconds to shoot out all that energy. What's going to be the acceleration of the Death Star? And I worked out to best case scenario, it's like 5,000 Gs. So everyone on board guaranteed turned into liquid when that thing fires.
Rough. It's so rough.
So even if you could put all that energy into one spot, it might do you more harm than good. And I don't want you to become a stormtrooper to find that out.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, you're saying it doesn't seem like it's possible from what our current understanding is.
I think we got so many limitations from physics and material science that we're going to do a lot of amazing things in the future if we, don't end our civilization in an untimely manner. But I think we're still going to have certain limitations. Like, I don't think it's possible to go faster than the speed of light, which means any technology we use to go around the galaxy is going to have to be limited by that much, which also means that will limit how quickly our civilization could grow. And we can't have like exponential growth and expect like GDP growth of 3% per year forever into the future or something like that. We will hit physics limits that prevent that. But what is the ultimate limit for what technology could achieve? I'm very reluctant to say anything hard other than the most basic limitations of you can't go faster than the light speed.
Mm-hmm. No, I would agree. I think it was Einstein who said we'd have to harness black holes to be able to travel at that kind of speed as well, or something. I'm not too well read.
Black holes weren't like discovered until after Einstein died. Einstein dies in the 50s. Our first direct observations or observations that we thought were most likely from black holes was from the 70s. There were predictions of black holes going back to the 30s. Oppenheimer was one of the first physicists to start working out some of the math for that. But actually using them for propulsion or anything like that, I'm pretty sure that's all post-Einstein. He was probably more concerned on some other matters, everything from his next theory of everything to refrigerators. He actually has a patent on a refrigeration system.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so your answer would basically be you don't think we'd be able to be godlike in advancement is the basic point, I would guess, from you.
I would say it depends on what you consider God. So, funny enough, I have to go grab my book, Aliens and Religion Where Two Worlds Collide. I do talk about, hey, if the aliens come here and they have ships that can actually get a significant fraction of the speed of light, the amount of energy that would require would be on the order of literal forces of nature here on Earth. So if we think, Thor was a god because he could control thunder, if aliens could arrive here with energy levels on par with entire weather systems, we'd be like, they're at least like the gods we used to have tribute to. So it's also a matter of what are you willing to call a god? And if it's by sheer power, perhaps so. If a god necessarily has to be supernatural, then we'll never be gods because anything we do will be natural.
Whereas in the Latter-day Saint viewpoint, we think that there is no ontological difference between God and man. We just see God as more advanced than we are, in kind of like in that alien humanity kind of way, but not ontologically. Same species, same being, but he just knows far more about reality, how it works. And he kind of says, "Trust me, bro, and I'll get you out of your mortal situation to an immortal situation where you can help me with reality." That's kind of like our viewpoint in a nutshell, you could say, from an atheist point of view.
I have just learned that Mormon God has a butthole, because that's the implication there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not ashamed.
That tells me a lot. So I'm not, because that's the big thing, that like if God himself has had to suffer, if God's having linebacker shits every now and then, that's something.
We actually
Now I
would go
know.
further and say that he did experience mortality. So that's another point of our theology.
Gotcha.
That popular Christians hate us for that, but we're not really ashamed by it. Or at least I'm not.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
I can only
I
imagine
see
if
it.
Mormons existed in 1600 because, well, the idea that God is effectively an alien, which, I mean, is a bit of a crass way of referring to what God is in Mormonism, but it's at least consistent with our secular idea of what aliens are. But if somebody said that in 1600, we know that person will be burned at the stake because somebody was burned at the stake for believing in aliens. That was Giordano Bruno. He was literally burned at the stake for a number of heresies, and one of them was the infinity of worlds and them being peopled. So, boy, oh boy, I can only imagine what Italian Joseph Smith in 1600, what would have happened to him?
Giuseppe Smith, if you will.
Don't worry. Jesus definitely taught to burn people for that. He definitely taught to kill people for that, right? Nope.
He did.
It's nonsense.
Well, I mean, not Jesus, but like the God of the Old Testament all day long. And then Jesus came along and said, I am the same as I've always been, and not a jot or a tittle of the law changes, and all those other things that link him to that guy. But that's all the other things for later on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to know, like, if you don't mind getting it, because this wasn't the purpose of your call. You're talking about, super advanced civilizations. I'm interested in like the Forerunners from Halo, and like they classified by tiers. There's that other one that has us on like this. I forgot what the guy who discovered, but it was like the scale based on like energy consumption, wasn't it? And like a class 3 type or type 3 society, or maybe it's type 1 is.
You're talking the Kardashev scale.
That's the one. Yeah. And so like that's like you can utilize all the energy of your planet, and then going up from there, it's all the energy of your star, and then up from there, it's like you're at like a galactic level of like energy usage.
Kardashev 1 is the full energy of a planet. Kardashev 2, all the energy of a star. Kardashev 3, all the energy of a galaxy. And the scaling, like the orders of magnitude, is about equal between those three. So it's actually a somewhat reasonable scale.
Yeah. And then there's the Forerunners from Halo. They had their scale, which was like pre-industrial, up to industrial, up to atomic, up to blah, blah, blah. And then you get up to a point where you're like, you can create life on your own, and then up to a point where you can create, like, manipulate gravity and form planets on your own and shit like that. And, like, I love thinking about that stuff because it's really cool. And I agree with everything that Aaron said, where it's just, you get to a point where definitely these things aren't possible. Like, this gets into science fiction pretty quick, as far as we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still,
as far as we know,
like, I do like thinking, like, if we were to take it that far, and we were to say that this was a thing, humans are going to survive this long, they're going to become a beyond spacefaring species, they're going to get to a point where they're so transcendent that they're able to do these things. I still, ignoring everything Aaron said about demigods and everything, like, I still hesitate to call that a god because they are still so human in their endeavors. That still leaves me with a bunch of people, if I know anything about humans, having studied what they've been for the past, a couple 100,000 years at least, they're still capricious, they're still hungry, they're still weird, they're still horny, they're still scared, and you put that all to a god, and you have something a lot more like the Greek and the Norse and the Egyptian pantheons, where these are, and I guess in a way, the Mormon religion as well, where it's like, these are just people who have some superpowers and are still dicks. And like, that makes more sense. I think Stephen Fry did an interview about that a little while ago. He was like, if I were to die and it was like the Greek gods, I'd be fine with that, because they never hid how human they were, and their appetites and their behaviors and their desires and their flaws. Any god who is going to call himself perfect, I think, reveals just how human he really is, because only a human would be so stupid and so arrogant to think that way about himself. And so if you're talking about this system where we raise ourselves to this tier 1 civilization that's able to manipulate galaxies and form planets and create life de novo and all these other things, you're describing the same kind of goofballs that I would imagine a god would be. And that's an interesting thought.
Sounds like the problem is, if we fix our foibles here, then we can do the things there that we need to. But
we need to be better people to do it. And like, that's the thing. I think that kind of technology is so cool And this does make me sound like a self-righteous prick, and I understand that and I accept that. But like, I don't think humanity is ready for that kind of responsibility in terms of who we are and how we handle responsibility. And I used to not think that. And then I saw how we handled like COVID vaccine and shit, you know? And now I'm like, hey, y'all, there's that old adage, like, I'll never believe any zombie movie that doesn't include a lot of people running out to get bit on purpose to prove that it's all a liberal conspiracy, right? And it's the same thing now when I look at, like, I talk about CRISPR, and I talk about designer babies, and I talk about all these different gene editing technologies and what people like to get really hyperbolic with, like, you know, driving human evolution and blah, blah, blah. If you'd asked me 20 years ago, I would have said, oh yeah, man, we can do that responsibly and take care of ourselves. And we're going to eradicate cancer. And we're going to eradicate Huntington's disease. We're going to eradicate all these other genetic issues that plague humanity. And we're going to find a way to balance perfection and freedom and give everybody their rights to do the blah, blah, blah. And I was so into it. And now I'm like, nah, some tech bro billionaire is going to fucking own that. We're going to have a split of species, and we're going to have the fucking Morlocks and the Eloi. And it's going to be horrible. There's just no way this is going to be a good deal.
Point taken. Definitely.
Yeah.
It could be darker, though, if I can cite pseudo-Mormon scripture. All of this has happened before. All of this will happen again. It's one of the refrains from Battlestar Galactica.
That's pseudo-Mormonism.
Because it was made by
Sure.
Yep. Yes. Battlestar Galactica in its original form is literally Mormonism in space.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it is.
That's real
Thank you guys.
neat.
I appreciate
That's real
all the
neat.
interaction. Before I let you go.
Yeah. If you ever want to call and get a really fiery, angry, screaming match about God, let us know. We're here for you.
So
All
say
right.
we all.
No worries, guys.
All right. Take care, Alec.
Take care. See ya.
Bye. We've had almost nothing but pleasant calls, y'all. Almost
I got to
nothing
make
there.
3 different science fiction franchise references in one call. That's
Find
just
a way
golden.
to-
I win today. I win.
Right? Find a way to rope Galaxy Quest into the next one, and we'll have a golden show. Perfect. We've got our last caller of the night, and it's Andrew calling from right here in Oklahoma, who wants to talk about free will and determinism and whatnot. Andrew, you're our last call of the night, so make it good. You're on the line with Forrest and Aaron. How you doing today?
Pretty good. Howdy, Forrest, and hello, Aaron.
Hello.
So I was recently having a discussion. I'm an atheist, by the way, but, you know, Forrest, given our location, we talk to many Christians.
Yep.
I was having a discussion talking about how I don't truly believe in free will. They thought that was absurd, and I was kind of going down the steps of, well, if God created everything, God is omniscient, then he knows what he did, what I'm going to choose based on evidence, could change it at any time. Therefore, I don't truly have the free will. Maybe my logic is flawed. Friend countered and said, well, that's just Calvinism, and said it was flawed logic. Am I missing something here? And I'll add a little bit for you, Forrest. I'll pose the question, do we have biological evidence for or against free will, and what would be something I could explain to a layman?
Yeah. I'm not great at the free will question. There's good arguments on both sides of this, and there are people that I respect that think both things. So, like, it's not really my wheelhouse. I would say the best argument that I know of against free will would be that, like, pick your favorite, you know, an event happens. I make a sandwich, whatever the event is, right? Or even less than that. It's something very simple. I scratch my nose, like a tiny little fraction of a second thing. What is happening immediately before that? It's the nerves sending the signals to my muscles to move, and also immediately before that, what is the impetus for doing that thing? Immediately before that, what's my blood sugar like? What kind of mood am I in? Is that impacting the decision that I'm making in that moment? A little bit before that, how is my job going? How's my relationship going? What are my long-term hormone levels over the past couple of days? That's going to influence my decisions today. going back, months and long-term stress levels, long-term ideas and euphoria and good and bad things in my life, my socioeconomic status and like what that's doing to me, my nutrition long-term, going back even further, how I grew up and what values were placed in me and what kind of lessons I've had in my life, my parents' upbringing and how they did things. Their culture going back 10,000 years, was it an honor society? Was it more of a pastoralist thing? Was there like a code of ethics? And what did that look like for me today? Was that passed on? Going back to the beginning of humanity, going back to the beginning of mammals, going back to the beginning of life, going back to the beginning of the universe, on and on and on. You can draw a causal line. It may not be a good one, but you can draw a causal line. And so that's the most interesting way to frame that. And I think it's useful. And the most interesting, I think, argument against that is the randomness of life around you with other people. Maybe your whole situation is determined, but theirs is also determined in a way that isn't dependent or contingent upon your determined whatever. And so they're going to bump into you, you're going to bump into them, you're going to be exposed to different thoughts and whatever like that. And if you are paying attention to your life, then the more stuff you're exposed to, the more tools you have in your tool belt, the more decisions you can make, and it gets to a point where it's kind of ridiculous to call it deterministic because you have just so many goddamn options. And I think that's also an interesting way to look at that. And just like with gradualism and punctuated equilibrium, I think that there's a reasonable blending of those two things, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. They actually go well together, and maybe there's some deterministic stuff that we interact with freely or something like that, or we have the freedom to pick determinism paths or what, I don't know. But again, this is all outside my wheelhouse, and I'm not good at talking about it, so that's the best I can give you for now.
Well, I thought you did pretty good. Yeah, I almost wondered if our genetics, what we inherited, might also just kind of determine how anyone would react in a certain situation. Why some people turn to fight and others turn to flight, kind of thing.
It's possible. So like there is such a thing as like, historical trauma having like potentially like epigenetic markers and stuff like that. So like there's some things like that sometimes, and there's some evidence pointing in that direction from time to time. Also, there's a lot to do with nature versus nurture here. What are your parents teaching you, and what kind of situations have you been exposed to in your life? And also, it's important to remember that fight or flight aren't the only two options. There's also freeze and there's also fawn. And so it's even that is a lot more diverse. And again, they blend, it might not just be one or the other all the time. So there's a lot there. And yeah, there are some things you can look to. Obviously there's genetic implications towards like tonic immobility and things like fainting goes, right? The ultimate in the whole fight, flight, or freeze, they fucking freeze. And there's a genetic reason for it, right? And we can also look to historical issues that have caused epigenetic changes in people that make them more predisposed to maybe, depressive or anxiety disorders, or maybe, other situations with nutrition and health, right? We can look at stuff like that as well. That's not really, that's pretty outside of my area, but I know it exists. So like, yeah, there's something there, less than you think, more than you'd like to think about. But as far as I know, there's nothing hard hitting that is like guaranteeing there is or is not such a thing as free will or anything like that. No real consensus on this yet. And it's still just an interesting thing to talk about for people who are into that sort of stuff. I'm kind of into that sort of stuff, but not nearly as much as like Robert Sapolsky is.
Right. As they say, it's more complicated than you think.
Yeah.
It's also complicated by definitions because for the philosophers who believe in free will, they all seem to have different nuanced definitions. But if you're talking about the kind of free will that is often called libertarian free will, that your decisions are not actually determined by past history, that I think we can say does not exist. And even if it did, you wouldn't want it anyways. It is literally the free will that nobody wants, and the people arguing for it really need to stop because they are being self-destructive in it. Because think about what it is if you were saying nothing about like previous events determines your decision. If nothing about the past, including your past decisions, determines what you're going to do next, that means it's random. What could be scarier than your choices being a throw of the dice? how does that actually make you feel more in control of your actions? If literally you're saying what free will is this random number generator that goes on in your head, that sounds like the sort of world I would not want to live in. And fortunately, even quantum mechanics doesn't make me live in that kind of world. I'm fortunately not just a giant RNG sim dealing with other people who had a different seed setting. My seed setting is 43, by the way.
I do think it's interesting because it's a lot like endocrinology when we talk about hormones in the body, right? And you're like, oh, so here's, dopamine gives you these feelings, and serotonin gives you these feelings, and epinephrine gives you these, and all these different things. The really important, key lesson when we talk about endocrinology is that hormones don't cause behaviors. They just make certain behaviors more likely, right? And so, I can say for sure, if I have a rat that's never given birth, and I introduce her to some puppies, some rat pups, some baby rats, she's going to exhibit what we call neophobic behavior. She's going to attack, and she's either going to kill the pups or she's going to run away from the pups. They want nothing to do with them, right? But I can introduce certain chemosensitive or receptive signals, and I can introduce certain hormones that will initiate maternal behavior in this rat. But it's never a perfect on-off switch. It's like, here's these hormones, here are these chemical signals, here's this olfactory signal, whatever like that. And now we expect to see XYZ behaviors. And it's the same thing with whatever else. If you're talking about, reproductive behavior, if you're talking about aggressive behavior, if you're talking about whatever, people talk about testosterone all the time. People who don't know anything about testosterone talk about testosterone all the time. As the thing that makes you be super manly and go fight and go blah, blah, blah. That's not what it does. Testosterone is like a get up and go chemical. It's going to make you do more of whatever it is you were already going to do anyway. And so you can see these relationships with certain behaviors and certain whatever, but at the end of the day, the hormone isn't activating that behavior, causing that behavior, forcing that behavior. It's just increasing the threshold that behavior is likely. And it's the same thing, I think, when we talk about free will. If I am exposed to certain stimuli, they're not going to force me to do a thing. I'm not a slave to the world around me causing things to, just flip switches in my brain. Nor am I just, have to do whatever I've been told to do over the course of my life. I have the option to think about what's happening around me, think about what's happening to me, think about my place in all of this, and try to pick the best path. And 99% of the time, as much as we don't like to think about it, kind of just on autopilot with most of what's going on. Very rarely am I very conscious about everything that I'm doing. That sounds like a nightmare to live in that. Focusing on my breathing and making my cup of tea and also walking and also thinking and also smelling and fuck that. But I think that there's a happy middle ground here where we can say that events, thoughts, stimuli, whatever, they may increase the likelihood of certain things, but it's not really reasonable to guarantee this happens and then this will happen next, or it's completely random and just whatever the fuck happens is whatever. There's something in the middle there that makes a lot more sense and seems to fit a lot more with reality, in my opinion. But again, can't stress this enough, not my area. So it's very likely I'm missing some things here.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I think that answers my question. Appreciate it.
Coolio. Yeah, man. And also, I think what you said about God is reasonable as well. If God knows everything and God has complete control of everything, then yeah, determinism is kind of the necessary next step to that. And even if you want to say we have free will and God allows us to do whatever, if he has a plan, then everything we do with our free will is part of that plan, which means every bad thing is actually good because God wills it so. And if that isn't the case, and he's a dick who's just letting bad things happen anyway, and no matter what, the buck stops with him because he's the one who set the plan in motion in the first place, which means if anybody ever goes to hell, it's because he made them in order for that to happen, knowing what was going to happen in the end. So the free will problem becomes a lot more damning when you have omnipotence involved.
And on top of that, note that if when it comes to omniscience, if God knows everything and everything he knows can't be wrong, the key feature of free will in pretty much every definition of free will is you had the ability to do otherwise. If God has perfect knowledge about what you're going to do, it is not possible for you to have done otherwise. It was already known what you were going to do. There was no other possibility. If there are no possibilities, because God knows what's going to happen, yeah, free will can't possibly exist given omniscience.
Right, which means you're not
Yeah,
responsible for your
that's what I
sins, which
thought.
means you're not to be damned, doing and judge you. It's a whole thing, man. Religion sucks. It's
Yeah, my definition of free will, and maybe I need to strengthen this or find an alternative, but was my definition is free from outside influence and not predetermined, which if Christianity is true or any of the religions with an omniscient God, it can't apply free will, is kind of what I was trying to describe to them poorly.
And I think that probably captures what most people mean by free will, that like free from coercion. When we talk about like free will in a legal setting, if you sign a document to give me $1,000 check, we look at that differently if you sign $1,000 check with a gun to your head. Because it's like, okay, this person's not doing it on their own volition. They're doing it because they are 2 seconds away from shitting themselves out of fear. We see those as different and assign different levels of responsibility for what happens in those circumstances. That's the only place that free will, I think, makes the most sense, that fits our intuitions about what free will is. And that kind of free will does exist because we can see situations where there is and is not coercion. There are definitely edge cases, like on capitalism, you have to buy stuff, but of course, all the issues that you might see with capitalism, does it mean that you freely chose to buy bananas, or is it that you had no other options? It's kind of an edge case there. It is different than mafia boss gun to your head, you're going to buy bananas, but it's not just the, being out in the forest and pulling a banana off a tree.
Got it. All right. Well, thanks, fellas.
Yeah, dude. Hey, no worries. See you later.
Have a good one.
Bye. By the way, if you were curious about the rat hormones thing, that's all about lactogen. If you knock out the gene for lactogen production, you will never have maternal behavior in a rat. And meanwhile, if you about halfway through pregnancy, lactogen is replaced by placental lactogen. So yes, prolactone. Nope, prolactin. Yes, prolactin. You knock out the prolactin gene, you knock out maternal behavior, but halfway through pregnancy, prolactin is replaced by placental lactogens, and if you inject that shit directly into the medial preoptic area of a rat that isn't a mother, it'll just start doing mother shit. You know what I mean? It's just all right, go now. But again, it doesn't cause it. It just makes it extremely likely. And that's a whole thing that is another discussion about rats and lobsters. Have you seen that clip? I want to put it in the chat of Jordan Peterson with it's like the mashup of him talking about rats and shit.
I have not seen this mashup. I mean, I know about his lobster talk and trying to use that to justify human hierarchies because lobsters such and such, because they're clearly our most common ancestor. Yeah, beyond that, I don't know what you're referring to.
It's the if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you give a man a rat, you'll satisfy his rat desire. And like this, I've put it in the chat. It's just so it's Jordan Peterson on rats and Monopoly is the video. It's about 60 seconds long. Nope, pardon me, about 20 seconds long. And so, if a rat plays Monopoly with another rat, the bigger rat will always win. It shows you whose side God's on, like lobsters. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Before you go though, we've got a bunch more shows for you this week, and next week, coming up tomorrow, we've got Chewed Gum with Taylor and Alyssa. Then on Wednesday, we've got The Hang Up with Matt and Brady Goodwin. Then we've got TACIS on Thursday with Riverboat Jack and Luxander. Then we've got a Cus I Wanna coming up on the 11th with Aaron Raw and Kip Davis, coming all the way back around to next week, where we've got Matt and Promise on the Sunday show and Justin and Owen on the Sunday show after dark. I'll be on the Calling It Now thing on Jimmy's channel with Jovan on that day, and then all the way back around to SkepTalk next Monday with Erica and Aaron. So tune in for all of those things, or don't. I'm not a cop. Aaron, what did you think about today? Any fine? Oh fuck, we have this. I forgot we have this. Never mind. Never mind. Damn it.
Read them, there's chats.
Yep, I forgot that we were doing super chats. This is my actual job. There's a popular anti-vaxxer called Stephen Kirsch, who took Peter McCullough's spike decock supplement and went blind in one eye. He's still anti-vax. That's
oh
crazy.
yeah. Again, I earlier mentioned Professor Dave that he did a 2-on-2 debate against Stephen Kirsch, and also, threw that in his face that he could only see half of which because of this kind of nonsense. That he will poo-poo modern science, yet the fake science literally half blinded him. He was not blinded by science; he was literally blinded by pseudoscience, and is not become more clear-eyed in this process. And I could keep making vision puns, but they'll become a blur after a while, so I'm going to stop.
Nice. I mean, we can see the picture here.
Oh yeah.
5
all right.
monarch. Oh, you're going back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes. 5 of them there English pound thingies from Rob Kirkland 5851. Suggested subject: Christians are the most unbearable fiction fan base. I am cautious because there is a lot of toxicity in all sorts of fan bases, and I do not want to make that kind of competition and find out who is the worst. I don't want to make a tier list and who is S tier toxic fan. That sounds too much for me to handle. I'm going to skip that.
Christians and the Muslims and the bronies and the Doctor Who people. Just what's going on?
I think Star Wars fans might be worse.
There you go. I don't actually know anything about any of that.
Well, considering that Star Wars fans became so toxic, they basically pushed out actors from Star Wars from continuing to do Star Wars. Then, there is definitely toxicity, unfortunately.
I did not know that, and I'm looking that up. That sounds wild.
If you've seen The Last Jedi, the second sequel film, the one that Rian Johnson directed, Amy Tan, I believe, was her name, the person who played Rose in that film. She got a huge amount of backlash, and she left social media for a long time and things like that. And also, it looks like she was effectively cut from the next film, where she has 2 lines. She went from a central character in one film to the other one. It's just I'm here too, in case you happen to remember. It's.
I found a blog called Let's Overthink That. I'm not endorsing this person. I have no idea. I just found that. But it says, why Star Wars fans think they can bully the franchise's actors. And
it's Kelly Marie Tran.
Kelly Marie Tran, thank you for the correction.
Digging into that. What a weird... And there's apparently there's a whole thing. There's a YouTube channel called Bullets and Blockbusters. Says how Star Wars fan broke Anakin Skywalker's actors.
I know the actor who played Jar Jar Binks had a suicide attempt or something because of all the bullying, and also Finn, the black guy in the first new one, they were going to have him become a Jedi, but all the fan backlash caused them to change the plans, and he was pissed.
Oh yeah. John Boyega has basically said, "Yep, I'm out, done with this franchise. You fucked up too much."
That's crazy. Yeah, I see. Apparently, Entertainment Weekly, John Boyega mocks racist Star Wars fans. Interesting. Well, I had no idea. I don't pay attention. I haven't seen a Star Wars movie since I watched the prequels when I was a kid, and I saw the original 3 when I was young, but I haven't seen any of the new ones at all. So I don't know what's going on with that. I also am not a fan guy, so I don't really care about. It's woof. There's a lot here.
Well, let's put it this way. If you watch the prequels, then like I said, as Lysander mentioned, the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, he was suicidal for a while because of the backlash he was getting for playing that character. He has kind of come full circle that he's actually reprised a different role in Star Wars, kind of as a comeback to say, hey, I'm welcomed by this community finally. But man, it was real slow coming, and we could have lost him because of just how poisonous some people are.
That's great. I found it on Reddit. Fucking about Ahmed Best recalls suicidal moments. Jesus of Christland, dude. Well, this is wild. The lowest I've ever been. How is from The Guardian. How playing Jar Jar Binks led to abuse near death and saving Baby Yoda. What a headline! All right, well, I'm gonna look into this later on because holy shit, I didn't know any of this was a thing. $5 from Joshua Everett. I found out today that Vice President Vance does not believe in space aliens. He, however, does think that UAPs are, in fact, demons trying to trick people. See, here's the thing. I don't know if that's true, but if you told, okay, I would believe that, is what I'm saying. If someone told me that, seriously, I would believe them before I was skeptical, because that sounds about right for this whole shit.
I've also learned recently that apparently J.D. Vance has now been articulating ideas, or thinks he's articulating ideas based on the political theories of Carl Schmitt, who was a famous Nazi political scientist.
Makes sense. They're all
Nazis.
fucking Nazis and pedos, dude. Robert Morris, one of Trump's spiritual advisors, was sentenced to prison for a long time for sexually abusing a 12-year-old girl, and he has just been released after a couple of months in prison. It's just piles of shit. Massive piles of shit.
Well, unfortunately, I can add more to that shit if you heard about the recent news for Steve Bannon.
What happened to Steve Bannon?
Well, so he already was taken to court, found guilty, served time in prison, and he's been trying to reverse that decision. Apparently, the Supreme Court has pretty much given the go-ahead for the Justice Department to vacate the charges and allow him to basically then try to sue for damages. A similar thing already was done by Michael Flynn, and Flynn has now made well over $1 million this way. It looks like Bannon's going to do similar. And the Supreme Court recently just gave the thumbs up to saying, yep, we can go forward with this procedure. So it pays to be a criminal right now.
I was going to say, this Supreme Court made a shit terrible decision that goes against all of our American values. Amazing. Who would have guessed that this particular Supreme Court would do such a thing? And I bet fucking all of them except for Ketanji Brown Jackson, you know?
Yes. Yeah. On the plus side, this kind $20 super chat from 8B String 8. There's probably a better way for me to read that. I don't know what's the best way. But what it does say after that in the quote marks, if PBHs are dark matter, we are trying to prove exists, and dark matter is the opposite of matter, and there are opposites like quarks, antiquarks, electrons, positrons. Would that mean in the middle of the PBH, time runs backwards? So PBH means primordial black holes, and primordial black holes would nonetheless be made of matter, so they would not have this same sort of thing. At the very least, if black holes were a big collection of quarks and antiquarks, well, all those quarks and antiquarks would have found each other and become energy again. It'd still be just a big old pile of matter, and time would not run backwards in that kind of way. On the other hand, if white holes exist, they will have a gravitational field, but you will never be able to enter them because the direction, basically, of the weirdness of warping of space-time would be preventing you from ever entering the white hole. It's probably doesn't exist, but there's math that at least says, hey, it's at least a solution to the equation.
Awesome. Also, I mispronounced her name. It's Ketanji Brown Jackson. 5 pounds from Mystic Mind Analysis. Evolution debunked. If duds ain't dads, how'd you get your wife? Checkmate evolutionists. IDK, so magic, obviously. What? What is it? Does this mean a thing? What does this mean?
Thanks, Pip.
Now, something's coming to mind. Earlier, when I had to take off, you said the spice must flow. I had to step out in part to defrost some cinnamon rolls my wife wants to make, and I can smell them right now. So the spice is flowing.
That's wonderful.
That's my fourth.
That's wonderful.
That's fourth sci-fi franchises mentioned in the stream tonight.
We still haven't covered Galaxy Quest.
Never give up, never surrender.
There you go. Finally.
All right. This one, you or me? I forgot. I'll take it. All right. So $5 from Nullifidian Network. Am I the only person who thinks Richard Dawkins looks like a James Bond villain? Pretty sure he has an office inside an active volcano somewhere.
It's rough seeing all of that, you know?
Yeah.
It's a bad time. I'm looking up Nullifidian as a word. A person who has no faith,
if,
religion, or trust.
Now, if I may, if we can bring in yet another sci-fi franchise, Doctor Who, the fourth Doctor, played by Tom Baker, married his co-star Layla Ward, who is also playing a Gallifreyan, but their marriage only lasted a short period of time. And this was back in the 70s when the show was also being written by Douglas Adams. After they had gotten divorced, Layla Ward went to a party and she was introduced to her next husband, Richard Dawkins, by Douglas Adams. And those two were married for a long time. So I'd like to joke for a long time, well, one of the reasons Richard Dawkins knows that evolution is a fact is because he married a Time Lord and could actually check this out for himself. But
fascinating.
Now, because of all the things that have come out, that joke doesn't land the same way. In fact, it lands in a trash can, and I really wish the best for, I think now, his former wife. I don't know if they're still married at this point.
Yeah. Weird timeline that we're in right now. Everything has just gone to shit. I'm also putting a link in the chat. So you're talking about Time Lords and stuff. I've never seen Doctor Who either. But it reminds me of a thing. Have you ever heard of a movie called Buckaroo Banzai?
That name sounds vaguely familiar, but I definitely haven't seen it.
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension is the full title of the movie. It is a 1980-something cult film. Let me see when this was put out. It's 1984. It's got Peter Weller, John Lithgow, Jeff Goldblum, Peter Lloyd, Christopher Lloyd, not Peter. I don't know who Peter Lloyd is. It's got a huge cast. I've never heard of it before. Some people in the chat have. One person even said, "Of course." That's interesting. I've never heard of this movie, but one of my committee members for biomed school is a huge fan, and is just like a thing that she's super into from her youth. And she's apparently in some Facebook groups about it, and somebody suggested that they would like to see me as this character, and she said that was super weird for her because she's, that's just seeing me pop up from a fan interaction or whatever like that. So she sent me this shit. So apparently this is a thing that a bunch of people have seen here on this channel as well. So this is a cosplay I'll have to do eventually. I have to get a tan suit and a bow tie and almost a mullet and do this thing. Next time I do Dragon Con or something, I'll come up dressed as Buckaroo Banzai. Make some random people excited. Who knew? That's great. It's free on YouTube. I'm going to watch that shit later.
And with Peter Weller, interesting, because, I mean, the only roles that I have seen him in is in RoboCop, and he had 1 or 2 episodes of Star Trek Enterprise he was in as a bad guy. Beyond that, no, he was also in Star Trek, what was the sequel one with the pseudo-Khan? I'm trying to remember. But he also played a bad guy Starfleet captain in Into Darkness, Star Trek Into Darkness.
Interesting.
But I'll have to add this to my watch list.
I want to dig into more. Send me your recommendations in the comments. Or like, I want more of those, like the 70s and 80s, like the dark fantasy sci-fi rock operas. You know what I mean? Like those types of crazy shit. I want more of that. I watched heavy metal when I was a kid, and I haven't seen it in a very long time. But apparently it's highly pornographic. I didn't know that until I mentioned it to somebody else. But like, and then there's this one called Wizards, which somebody on my Patreon recommended to me, about these 2 fucking wizard creatures, Black Wolf and whoever else. And like, this looks radical. I want to check that out. So if you've got some good ones, send them my way, because I want to see some weird animated sci-fi post-apocalyptic high fantasy. I want to see Tolkien do acid and go on a spaceship. That's what I want. And if it's got a rotoscoped creature in it, I'm in. You know what I mean?
I think I've got something that can hit most of those itches, and it's actually a relatively recent production. It was an independently made film, relatively short film called Kung Fury.
Oh, all right.
And it is pretty much like every 80s trope they could rolled into one film, and it is it's glorious in its silliness and rather good production value, all things considered, and also has a lot of killing of Nazis. So it's fun for the whole family.
I love that. That's great. That's one of my favorite things. People are saying Cull. I don't know what that. I've seen Krull, but I've never seen Cull. I'll look that one up too. And what'd you say the one that you were talking about?
Kung Fury.
Kung Fury. Got it.
There's also a music video that goes with it, performed by David Hasselhoff.
Fucking sick. Did you know that Tom Hanks did rapping in a movie called Dragnet a little while ago?
No, nothing about this.
So in 1987, there was a movie called Dragnet, which is about Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd as police officers who have to go up against a criminal organization called Pagan, which stands for People Against Goodness and Nature or something like that. There's a whole, I'm going to put the link in the chat. They rap these people their rights. And so it's called The City of Crime is the song. And there's a line dance and they wear shorts and they're in like go-go dancer cages. And it's a whole thing. And so I learned about that on the Late and Night podcast with Brian Wecht. Go listen to that. I'll put that in the chat as well. I learned about this and I watched it and I can't unwatch it. And now you can't either. That link's in the chat. And now the link to the podcast I learned about it on is also in the chat.
Brian
Go check
Wecht?
those out. Yeah.
Like Ninja Brian?
Ninja Brian
Okay, cool.
from the Game Grumps. Yeah. I was on his podcast and we talked about this and many other things. God damn him, because I have not been able to stop thinking about. I get why he's into it now. It's so weird.
Unfortunately, now you're making me think of other villainous organizations with bad acronyms, and the thing that comes to my mind is from SpongeBob SquarePants, where the various villains against now, what's his name all of a sudden? I'm forgetting the superhero in there. But the evil organization wanted to have that spelled out, and so their acronym is Every Villain is Lemon. Evil.
Yes, evil. I do remember that one. That was the Dirty Bubble and Man Ray, and some other. I think it was Man Ray, wasn't it? And
I think so.
I remember those two, Man Ray and Dirty Bubble, the only ones I remember. There were other
Mermaid
ones,
Man and Barnacle Boy. That was the superhero duo from there. Yes.
Yes. It's so good. Fuck, dude. We gotta get your super chat. $5 from Sarah Talkspot. I could do this all day. BTW Forrest, my new name has a middle name. What? My new name has a middle name inspired by you. Talks? Oh, I'm now going by Rain 4. Okay, great. I thought you meant the name of your thing. Yeah, whatever. I trust my line people. But only a select few know that. Well, that's congratulations on the whatever. It's good for you. And thank you for... I'm glad I was an influence on you. I can't wait to disappoint you and you have to change your name again. God.
All right. $5 from Nobody One. This is so much better than channel surfing or doom scrolling. Stay awesome, my friends. This is definitely awesome, but if you need another live stream after this, check out NASA. They got people, coming around the moon.
There you go. That's a tight thing to look into. Corey Springer sent $10.86 with no message, but that cat is having a weird time. So there you go. That's the message is that whole thing that the cat's doing.
And we got $5 from Julia Kala 3979, and with actual words after here. So I can't wait for evolution to give gators wings. How do I CRISPR gecko feet onto an alligator for scientific purposes? Not anything evil.
I
would say just get some Scotch tape and wrap it on the outside around the alligator, and your problem solved.
Yeah. The biggest problem is making new limbs. Like, that's the biggest issue, because you only have so many somites, and you only have so many muscles, and you only have so many Hox genes. And so, like, making new limbs is getting the front legs to be like wings easier than making 4 legs and also wings. Like wyverns evolutionarily make way more sense than actual proper dragons. You know what I mean? It's just don't get excited because evolution's fucking weird. 5 ass dollars from Ruben Manzano. Earth equals sphere because round doesn't mandate 3 dimensions. Look, fucking nerd, you're right. But do you feel good about being right?
Thank you for defending my choices, Forrest.
I think that was a well-rounded point, but
nice.
I think our knowledge of geometry is sufficient to say flat earthers just no. Just no. Now, I mentioned actually our next super chatter, the $5 here for misinterpretations. I mentioned that I'll be on her channel tomorrow night. So Double have to give a good readout from her. So 2 of my favorite scientists, I'm Forrest and Valkai. That's the 2 I think she's referring to. Thank you for the fantastic explanations, Dr. Aaron. Why doesn't your t-shirt say the Ohio State University? So indeed, it is a little bit short, seeing if it's hiding anywhere here. But yes, the official name of the university is the Ohio State University. You might say it's the definite article.
Nice. $5 from Julia Skaya. I believe that's how that's pronounced. Why are there maconial trees? What niche? That's a nice. Niche and nation you serve. Other than be absurd. Let me look these up because I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe I do know what you're talking about, but I've never heard that name. Manchonial tree. What are we talking about here? Also known as the Tree of Death. Oh, these are death. Yeah. No, I do know these. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Manzanillas. Yeah, little apples. Okay, so I did not know that's the. Oh, yeah. No, that's the whole fucking. Okay, so it's from the scientific name. So the scientific name is Hippomane manchania, or manchonilla, if you're whatever. And Hippomane is because when the Spanish were first coming to these islands, their horses would eat these apples that these trees produces, and the apples would just dissolve their insides, and the horses would start acting pretty erratically. And so Hippomane, or whatever the fuck for the genus name, is supposed to mean crazy horses, because it would drive horses crazy because their fucking organs were melting. As far as like what niche should they serve for these things, just for everybody to understand, these are trees that are found in South America. I saw them all over the place in the Galapagos Islands, and they are so unbelievably toxic that like even like laying underneath them is dangerous because water dripping off of them will like burn your skin from the sap and the residue they take from the leaves and shit. So they're crazy dangerous. And eating them is a really bad deal. Eating the little apples that come off of them. That's why they're called manzanilla, means little apple. We saw these all over the place. And the thing about them, they actually do have a specific niche where they're at in the Galapagos, which is that these tortoises. I'm 13. These tortoises that live there are some of the only things that can eat them without being killed or being hurt. And so they eat these apples, and then they fuck off for miles and miles, and they poop out the seeds, and that helps these trees disperse. Because they're so big, you want that dispersal so that you're not competing with your own offspring. And so a lot of times when we see things like this where they have crazy toxins or whatever, the niche is not only keeping other things off of it, it's also really, really zeroing in to one specific kind of animal, whatever, that is co-evolving with it in order to help it do what it has to do and spread where it wants to spread. So you see the same thing like with cacti and whatnot. The point is to get mammals and whatnot away from it, but things that are quick enough and small enough to get into just the flowers, that's a boon to these creatures. It's just to make sure that part is protected, or to protect whatever key resource that it doesn't want hurt while ensuring that the reproductive resources are still available. So there's a whole thing there, man. There's a lot of stuff there. Cool thing. I didn't know that was the name for that group of trees. I didn't know that. But yeah, Manzanilla de Muerte, the little apple of death, is what these guys are usually called and what I've heard of. I don't know what their distribution is beyond that, though.
I'm realizing, though, that there's another thing that also makes them a bit dangerous for humans when they drip on you. The other aspect is the uncontrollable dancing that they cause you. There was actually this big outbreak of this back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where people are going, da, 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 hey, McAneel.
McAneel. Nice. Nice.
Sorry, that went
That was
into
I can
my
always
head. I
tell
had
when
to
you're
get it out.
ramping up for a joke, Aaron.
It took a while.
I
It was a
ramp up
long
and it's
walk
never
to
good.
get there. It was a long walk to get there, but it was worth it when we got there.
If you were Erica, you would not be saying that.
Shout out to Erica. That's just for you two. Is this you or me?
I think it's me. So we got 999 from Balthazar228. Can you increase class consciousness by not having higher level classes at 8 a.m.?
Nice.
I see the value in that point. Yes.
Did I tell you? Speaking of terrible jokes, and Erica, I told Erica a joke, and I think you would appreciate it more than she pretended not to appreciate it. You know she liked it, but like, I think you would like it a lot more. There was back in medieval times, in the when medieval things were happening, there was this king who went to Africa to go hunting, and he killed a lion and an elephant and a hippopotamus. And he skinned them, and he took their hides back to medieval land as trophies. And he had these 3 squires that were like really loyal squires to him, and he gave them each one of these hides. And so there's the squire with the lion hide, and the squire with the elephant hide, and the squire with the hippopotamus hide. And they're known as like the squires who have the hide squires. I don't know. So the king goes on and dies, and years pass, and these squires grow in wealth and ingratiate themselves and become quite famous and quite prolific and quite wealthy and quite prosperous. And eventually there comes a time where the squire with the lion hide and the squire with the elephant hide are very jealous of the squire with the hippopotamus hide. And they don't want him to have it. They want to steal it for themselves. So they're very jealous, evil people. And so they have sons. And like the lion squire has like 5 sons, and the elephant squire has like 8 sons or whatever. And they send all their sons to go kill the squire that has the hippopotamus hide, and he doesn't send any of his own kids out there. He fights them all by himself and bests them all in combat. And so on that day, it was shown that the squire of the hippopotamus is equal to the sons of the squires of the other 2 hides. You like it? What did you think?
Well, most geometry puns take the shortest path to get from one point to the other, so it fails on that front.
Right. Euclid joke. Well done.
Well, that is just my hypotenuse.
Right.
All right. This is your read, I think.
$10 from a gay, divorced, unemployed, bald guy. That's a lot of description, and with that profile picture, it's perfect. Aaron, if Kent Hovind kidnapped Forrest, brainwashed him with his creationism and forced him to lead Bible studies at Dinosaur Adventureland, whose help would you recruit in the rescue mission? What a wild question.
Well, fortunately, there is an objective answer. So, obviously, I need a crew of people that know their evolution, can provide muscle, and can also create a distraction. So what I'm thinking is my team would be Erica, Aaron Ra, and Joshua Bowen. Erica and Aaron both have excellent evolution knowledge, and both of them can provide the muscle to get things out. Joshua, not only is he on our side, but he also has probably the best Kent Hovind impression. So he can run distraction and be pretending to be Kent while we are dragging Forrest away. And also hoping that with a few random references of Bowen bringing up Kent Hovind's go-to mentioning of whale penises, we'll snap him out of it along with some fossils in front of him. If need be, we'll just keep throwing fossils at Forrest until he gets better.
Just ask Hovind to say the word vagina, and he'll get really uncomfortable, and that'll distract you for a while. It's like
the other reason Erica's coming, because I'm pretty sure he will not know what to do.
Right. There's a woman who isn't submitting to him. $9.99 from Balthazar228. Are there any biological reasons that certain people don't appreciate the incredible development of puns? It feels like a cruel punishment. I don't know, man. Some people just aren't cool. You know what I mean? You over the course of evolution, there are some people that know ball and some people that don't. And here we are, you know? I don't know.
I'm going to tell Erica you said she's not cool.
You can. Let me ask you this, Alexander. A black bear and a white bear, a black bear and a polar bear both jump into a pool. Which one dissolves first?
The gummy bear? I don't know.
The white bear dissolves first because it's polar. Polar molecules dissolve in water and non-polar molecules don't. Why oil and water separate? Get it? It's great.
Sorry, but with that chemistry joke, there just wasn't much of a reaction. Okay. Now, we got $5 from Legally Maud. Trump got reelected. I don't think we can count on a distant future for humanity. Now, here's how I would take the opposite of that. This is such an absurd situation that the future is going to do everything it can to get away from this present. So that means our future is long and far away. Does that make actual logical sense? No, but it's the thing I'm going to go for to keep us a little bit more hopeful for tonight.
It works. $10 from Kenny Kavanaugh. I'm not a physicist, so I'm not certain in the matters, but in lore, the Death Star was like a giant lightsaber core. Would generating a plasma field rather than firing a laser change the formula for recoil? I don't know if there's a difference. Is there?
So first off, canonically, a kyber crystal is used for the super laser in the Death Star, and yes, it is officially called a super laser. Kyber crystals are the same sorts of crystals they use in lightsabers. It's also part of the plot that happens in Rogue One, that there is the collection of kyber crystals so that way they can build the super laser for the Death Star. If it was firing a plasma instead of light, it would actually make the recoil worse because light doesn't have mass. So there will actually be less momentum with the amount of energy there than with actual plasma particles. So everything that I had said about how bad things are, if you have a plasma involved, it actually makes it worse.
Wild. $5 from... Oh, it is you. Sorry.
Oh, fine. $5 from Storm 10. What is your favorite sci-fi franchise? By the way, I didn't know Forrest was such a Halo nerd, and I appreciate Aaron's take on the Death Star. Great show. All right, so Forrest, you go first.
Firefly, and I only played 1, 2, and 3, and like I guess I played Reach. 4 donked, and I never played 5. 3, 4, 3 killed it because that's what corporations do.
And you mentioned Firefly. Did you hear that they're bringing it back?
Why?
They're doing an animated series all the actors really wanted to, so they got the rights from Joss Whedon.
Oh, okay. I mean, flip, dude. They're going to have to figure out some way to replace Ron Glass, but like, at the end of the day, if the actors wanted to do it and they have their love and passion in it, I'm interested. But like, I hate the idea of them rebooting something that is long past the point where it could have been saved and trying to bring that magic back, you know?
Yeah, my understanding it's not going to be a remake, though it sounds like it might be doing some stuff to slightly reboot what happened in the movie Serenity. I don't know the details. Obviously, I haven't seen it because no one has. But people have been saying brown coats forever for like 25 years at this point, and I'm glad that has come to some sort of fruition. We'll see ultimately how good the product is. Now, sci-fi franchise, for me, I'm probably going to have to say Star Trek. It is one of the longest running sci-fi franchises in all of history. It encompasses so many things, and the thing that I always find the most beautiful in it is that even in its darker episodes, that it sees an optimism of what we can do as humans with technology and that we can make a better tomorrow. That when it comes to the sorts of sci-fi futures, it's like the one that we look to the most and say, this is what we would like to aim for. Not necessarily that it's perfect, but boy, oh boy. When you get a speech from Picard, you're just like, yes, that's my captain.
I've got to watch this show. I only watched the original, like the Captain Kirk Star Treks when I was a kid because we had every single one of them on VHS tape, and my mom was super into them. So we watched all those. And now, after so many years, I can't handle. They're so cringe because they remind me of my parents' kind of humor and shit. They just drive me wild. Where it was that very, what was that? That was 70s, right? It
60s.
was that 60s, and it was that very 60s kind of TV where like there can't just be a line. Everybody has to strike a pose and make a face and say the line in such a way. And it's like Shakespeare kind of shit. You know what I mean? And I can't stand it. And
I think your
I've
problem
never
is
seen
just Shatner.
maybe, but I've also never seen any other ones. So like, and also I only remember like 3 episodes because I was watching when I was a little kid. Something Tribbles, That's so like
Tribbles.
that's. Oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like that's all I've got. I've got Tribbles, and I've got the one with the shape-shifting suckerfish alien that sucked the salt out of people, and the blob that Spock mind melded with, and the whole story behind that, where Shatner yelled out, "Get him an aspirin," and they wouldn't speak to each other for like a week, and like that whole thing. I know some.
The
vibes
creature was
of
called
it.
a Horta. It was a silicon-based life form.
Yeah.
Forrest Kelly refused to say silicon and kept saying it was silicone.
Yep.
And well, they discovered new biology and discovered a new kind of life. Come on, that space, the final frontier, finding new life and new civilizations to boldly go where no one has gone before. Or okay, originally it was where no man has gone before. It became more gender inclusive in the Next Generation. I will say this much: if you watch the next series, the Next Generation, the first season or 2 is rough. This seems to be kind of a canonical thing in Star Trek. The first season is hard to get through, but once you've gotten past that, there's usually gold after that. Same thing for Deep Space Nine. Similar thing for Voyager. Very strongly for Enterprise. Depends on how you feel about Discovery. Some people just hated Discovery throughout, and I think that was because it had not white people in it.
I'll add them to the list. Like Erica, when we did our show in Tulsa, she was making it a bit to like find anything, anybody shout out any pop culture reference, any great TV show, any classic movie, any really notable thing from pop culture, and like surprise, Forrest doesn't know it. You know what I mean? He's never seen it, and that's true almost every time. And so like I'm sure it's awesome. I would love to check it out someday. I'll add it to the pile of things that I need to look at eventually.
Do your best and live long and prosper, okay?
Hey, I know that one.
And do you know where this comes from?
Spock from the first one. Leonard Nimoy did this shit, and then a lot of people started doing it too.
And this is supposed to actually be the Hebrew letter Shin, and Nimoy was Jewish, and apparently in some of the prayers they would have their hands up like this to represent the feminine aspect of God, and he incorporated that into what he created into Vulcan culture. So,
neat.
There you go.
I didn't know that. All right. I'm going to look that up too, because that's more things for me to fill in my brain with.
Yes, this is, you don't need to get another master's degree. Just learn Star Trek, okay?
Maybe. We'll see. Well, do they offer master's degrees in Star Trek is what I want to know.
Well, let's put it this way. James Doohan, the actor who played Scotty, did get an honorary engineering degree from, I think, University of Aberdeen. I forget which university in Scotland. So
neat.
There's an indirect way of getting that degree.
Hey, yeah, why not? And the person in the chat saying that I'm a Time Lord, I've never seen that either. I've never seen an episode of Doctor Who. I don't know anything about it. But I know some about it. I know some stuff because it's all over the fucking place. But I don't know enough. I don't know. Everyone talks about Calvinism. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so $9.99 from Balthazar228. Everyone talks about Calvinism, but no one talks about Hobbesism.
True.
Well, that's because life is nasty, poor, brutish, and short. Sorry, wrong Hobbes.
Who is that? What was it? Was it Thomas Hobbes or was it somebody? One of those sons of bitches. I got it written down somewhere. I think it might be in my car. But like it's one of those guys. It wasn't Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and it wasn't Hobbes. One of those pieces of shit. John Locke, I think it might have been. One of those pieces of shit that was real big into the Enlightenment and like helped us create this country with their new values of like self-determinism and social contracts and shit. I was reading a book called Superior: The Rise of Race Science, and it's all about race realism and stuff. And they were talking about these early Enlightenment thinkers and like how like that they're so influential and all these things, and how fucking racist they were. And one of them, I think it was Locke. I think I'll double check, but you can also easily fact check this. Was literally writing like one of his journals, writing about hiring like a worker of some kind, and was like he immediately knew that he wouldn't hire this person because you could tell just by looking at him how stupid he was. He was black. And like just talking about shit like that, and this other worker worked with him, which means he's stupid too. Because why would you trust this? And like just how unbelievably, wildly fucking racist these folks were. And because that was when phrenology was becoming a thing. Before we even had evolution, but phrenology was still happening, you know. And it's like, oh no, obviously, and you can just look at this. Like you can give evidence of someone's intelligence by their hair texture and whatnot. And around this same time, we have the same thing with gender. There was that one case, I don't know where the fuck I got off on this tangent with, but like there was that one case of that dude in like the 1800s who was fighting for his right to vote in this country because he was intersex. And there was there was a court case and everything to determine if this person was a man or a woman. And they hired a doctor to come do a medical examination and whatnot. And the argument for him being a man was things like that he had a penis. The argument for him being a woman was that like he enjoyed knitting in light colors. And like that's, you know, those are what only females can do. It's just there's so much weird shit there. It was Thomas Hobbes, says this person. I'm not surprised. Crazy shit. Who knows where my brain went with that? $5 from Joshua Everett. Free will could still exist if the omniscient God in question is not also a creator God. Then the critique does not apply.
I disagree because my statement about omniscience and free will was independent of creation. The omniscience factor means that God would know what would happen without fail, and free will is the ability to do otherwise. If this God knows what was going to happen and is not possibly wrong, then you could not have done otherwise. They may not be the cause of things, but if they know everything, you can't possibly have free will because there's no way anything could have been different. Now, how about $5 from Joey Smith Jr.? A toxic fan base tier list might presume a lack of overlap of toxic people in multiple fandoms. Are a majority of toxic Star Wars fans also Christian? I don't know about the answer to that question, but you're probably right that toxicity is the same people in multiple places. Yeah, I definitely believe that. I mean, I was just thinking, I wonder how many Star Wars fans are also bronies. But then I remembered John Delancey is both Q in Star Trek The Next Generation and Chaos, in Discord in My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. So, yeah, there's plenty of overlap.
The biggest white hole I know is the Daily Wire Plus, says Balthazar for $9.99. Fucking well done.
You win the pun day. $5 from Legally Maud. Who are you? What do you want? Why are you here? Babylon 5. That's 6 or 7 sci-fi franchises. Now, I have to admit, I have not watched Babylon 5. I do know the controversy about Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine, 2 sci-fi shows on at the same time with space stations with a number in their name. Yeah, the similarities are a bit too obvious.
99 Forever Unbound. I wanted to call in, but I chickened out. Take my money instead. Cock. Thank you. Thank you for the cock money. I appreciate it.
We're clipping that, aren't we?
Yeah.
$5 from... Yep. $5 from Winnie Rose 81. The Dread Pirate Roberts is the obvious 80s action movie cosplay meta for Forrest.
I could do that. I could be Carrie Ellis for Halloween.
I'm good with
dead?
that, yeah.
I don't think so, but that movie did predict the emergence
not.
and popularity of masks.
And they're fashionable. He is not. He is 63 years old. Good for him. Continuing on. He was in Robin Hood Men in Tights, wasn't he? Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. I don't know why I never put that together. That was just a different white dude in my head. I don't know. Is this me?
Yes, it is.
Where is Waldo? Sent 20 Canadian dollars. Doesn't fit the description for us, but I think you may like my favorite film of all time, a samurai spaghetti western that feels like a comic book come to life with surprisingly good writing. It's called The Warrior's Way. I'll look that up. Put that in here.
A Western. It's also making me think of the anime Trigun, but it's definitely not the same.
Trigun was great. That was one of my favorite animes.
Now we got $5 from I'm a Shoe 1703. Learned about an exotic fruit from a role-playing video of all things, and it's freaking real. Look up the black diamond apple. One day I will try one. Black diamond apple. I'm hoping this isn't what the evil queen gave to Snow White.
I'm looking it up. A black diamond apple. It's a thing. It's a rare variety of apples. Hey, look at that.
Okay. I'm feeling like a Disney villain just looking at it.
It's a neat look at that. I mean, it's cool. I'd eat it.
Like a plum.
It does look like a goddamn plum. Look at the inside. There's a plum.
Plums.
That's surely a plum. This is neat.
Yes, plums, the most evil of the fruit.
Black diamond apple pie. Now we're talking.
Oh, right. I might have to try to find those apples and send them to my brother. He's in Colorado. He has a ski shop, so black diamond apple sounds like a perfect thing for a ski bum. All right, 1999 from Balthazar228. In my experience of deriving the Schrödinger equations and doing orbital dynamic computations, the actual way the universe functions is so much stranger and cooler than any man-made explanation ever presented.
Yeah, I love it was Feynman said nature's imagination is so much greater than man's, and she's never going to let us relax. And I love that. Not only because I usually don't like grouping humankind with the moniker man. I usually rally against that. But I like his framework in setting the dichotomy between man's imagination being limited and her imagination of nature's being superior. I like that framework. $9.99 from Balthazar228. Two cats are in a swimming race. Un, deux, trois, and 1, 2, 3. Who wins? 1, 2, 3, because un, deux, trois, quatre, sink. I don't know how to say four.
Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq.
Cat sink. Nice. That's really good. I didn't know that. I learned a little bit of French today, and I hate that I learned a little bit of French today, but I liked that I learned a thing, and that is a good joke. Well done.
All right. How about $5 from SJL? The intro to the Borg caused me to stop watching Star Trek The Next Generation twice. The Borg are too overpowered as an opponent. Tell that to Janeway.
Fucking God.
I don't get that reference, but yeah, dude.
Janeway, the captain in Star Trek Voyager, the Borg are this big scary thing at the beginning, and then at the end they're just like, Borg again.
$10
I got this new torpedo, I can just blow them up.
Yeah, who cares? $10 in Green Man Dave. What is your name? What is your quest? What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
African or European?
Now you're asking the right questions.
I saw a image to deal with what's going on at the Strait of Hormuz of how they can still ship the oil, and they suggested a large flock of unladen African swallows
gripping the barrels of oil by the husk. Yes,
I think it was the coconuts were filled with oil.
Brilliant. That's how you do it.
Yep.
Are you suggesting that coconuts migrate? I think this one is you.
All right, more $9.99 from Balthazar. I know phrenology is debunked pseudoscience, but does everyone connected to the current administration have to look so cartoonishly evil?
It's a lot. Hate messes with your body, dude. You know?
I do want to point out, the president does not have a pet, so he can't be stroking a cat like evil James Bond villain. So there's at least a limit.
Yeah. I love watching The Princess Bride back to back with Men in Tights because it feels like Wesley quit being the Dread Pirate Roberts to become Robin Hood. I mean, yeah, dude. In a significantly sillier context. Fucking Robin Hood Men in Tights, one of my favorite movies, seriously, of all time. And I love, like, Mel Gibson, Mel Brooks in general. Mel Brooks, the opposite. Mel Brooks in general. But, like, that, and then I think Young Frankenstein might be, like, my favorite movie of all time. It's just so unbelievable.
I'm just realizing, actually, how opposite they are. One of them is Jewish and the other one is a major anti-Semite. Yeah, they're about as different as possible. I hope you're also looking forward to, I think it's next year. Is it either late this year or next year? Spaceballs 2 finally comes out.
Fuck me. Why not? I've actually, I don't think I've ever actually watched all of Spaceballs. I have seen most of it. I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched the whole thing. This was just, I know all the major bits and I know the good jokes, but like, I should sit down and really properly enjoy it. You know what I mean?
You are missing out. But of course, I'm also realizing the sequel will be a little bit sad because, well, it can't possibly have John Candy.
Yeah.
And without Barf, how can I have a movie?
John Candy and Ron Glass making a movie together in the afterlife, y'all. Oh, man. Hey, this is a show, and sorry, but you watched it, and that's your fault. Aaron, it's always a pleasure working with you, dude. We got to cover some seriously cool science talk today.
Oh, yeah. All right. And of course, we couldn't so much done because of the patrons, because of the crew, the mods, the screeners. The reason we do good stuff is because of you all. Thank you so much.
This is really loud, but thank you guys for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day and never stop learning. I'll see you later. Bye.